Hey guys, Ash here coming at you today, Ray Shadow Legends. Welcome to the video, guys. Glad to have you all here. Send us some love, some positive vibes your way, especially if you need it out there today. Today, it's the big one. It's the big video. We like to do this one time a year here on Raid. Last year, this was about 3.5 hours long, the video. The year before that, it was again over 3 hours long.
Mom, can you pick me up? I'm scared.
This year, I'm going to switch up the format just a little bit. Instead of reading every word of every champion's kit, I'm just going to go through and try to give the gist of what they're bringing to the table. More importantly, just give you a little bit of, my anecdotal experience. I played most of the legendaries inside the entire game. Where are they good? Where are they bad? What are my overall sentiment towards these champions? So without further ado, without further delay, let's go ahead into it. Actually, one little delay is in case you weren't aware, I have guides on many of these champions, not all certainly, but we're going to get there. We've been doing this for a year now. We have 305 champion guides released on the Raid Shadow Legends Champion Guides YouTube channel. So if you're looking for a specific guide on a specific champion, go ahead and give it a search there or here on the Ash Raid Shadow Legends YouTube channel as well. Grab your favorite beverage, snack, or whatever, and let's jump into it here. Starting where else at the Bannerlord. So let's start with good old Lord Champ Fort. Well, he's a legacy old school champion, but he's still really good. He saw a surge or a resurgence of viability after Iron Twins was introduced to the game because he has a shield here at the start of each turn on this champion equal to 20% of his max HP with, of course, the decreased speed. So shield on the passive, great for Scarab King. The decreased speed, great for Iron Twins, as well as an AoE decreased accuracy, attack, and a defense on the A1. He's very tanky. He's an HP-based champion, so he's got 22k base HP and ally HP in dungeons by 50%. One of the best HP auras out there in the game. I'll give him a B+. I'll try to rank everybody as I go through the champions as well. Might forget a few, but we'll do our best. Sathalia, magic affinity, and she's one of those champions that her kit reads so well, but she's really been a victim of polymorph, similar to like a Madame Ceres, right? Either way, she's really good. She got an HP burn on the A1, 60% chance. She got a cleanse from a single target ally, but it's on a 2-turn cooldown with an AoE heal there as well if the target is fully healed. I really like the Lordly Embrace ability. I love 2-turn cooldown support abilities, but really Aggress is the main highlight of her kit, right? She's removing all buffs from enemies, decreasing their turn meter, and that can ramp up as well if 5 or more total buffs were removed. This is all on a 3-turn cooldown. A great control ability. However, she is a bit more niche right now inside the meta. I do want to note too, the 108 base speed is really, really nice on this champion. Killian the Lucky, the little leprechaun, man. I love this dude. I have a massive soft spot for Killian the Lucky. First of all, aesthetically, I'm a massive Celtics fan here in Boston. And yeah, he I don't know what it is, guys, but he just does something for me. He also has an amazing kit, right? He's an attack-based champion. He's got a 2-time hitter, each hit with a decreased speed big version, and each hit, she has of stealing 30% of the target's turn meter on each hit. That is insanely good turn meter control in the A1, like really S tier. He's got by the way, speaking of S tier, Sathalia, I will give a B. Killian the Lucky. He's got an AoE block active skills on a 4-turn cooldown. Pretty good ability. And then he has Headringer, an insanely good ability. It's a single target. We get a stun for 2 turns and stealing 50% of the target's turn meter. Reset the cooldown of the skill if the target's killed. So it's just an insanely good control ability with a 2-turn stun there. He's also at the start of each turn adding 2 random buffs to himself on top of everything else. Great control, just exceptional control. A2 on the AoE with a stun for 2 turns, just stealing turn meter all over the place. Again, stealing turn meter. Stealing turn meter, not depleting, but stealing. So it gives him a lot of opportunities to go again. I really love Killian. I'm going to give him the A-. Sigmund the High Shield, defense-based champion. Nice and tanky. We love it. He's got a removing shields on his A1, also removing another buff, 100% chance of doing so against bosses, a pretty good A1. He has an AoE provoke. It's not 100%. That's the knock on this guy, right? It's a 75% provoke and then 100% decrease attack when he's booked out. It's a real bummer because he would be a great Hydra. He still is a great Hydra provoker, but just that dependability of the 75% when booked is just not, well, it's not 100%, right? Shield of the Realm, very exceptionally good support ability here with a shield, 30% 50% of his max HP, which scales pretty well, and is strengthened. So you're getting a lot of support and some control from this champion. Overall, and he has a defensive in Doom Tower battles by 40%, so good for Doom Tower battles. Overall, I'll give him a B+. Rhonda, help me, Rhonda, help me get her out of my heart. Bow, 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 bow.
So, what were you saying?
Sorry, triple hitter. She has a chance of joining in attacks. She got another triple hitter that smacks. She's got block passive skills, very hard debuff to find, great neutralizer, and Fury Tremor just deals a lot of damage, and she's immune to turn meter reduction effects when the skill is not on cooldown. 50% mitigated effect when it is on cooldown. You put it all together, you're looking at a ton of damage, great multi-hitter potential for Fire Knight, Arena especially, right? Rhonda is, obviously, she's a free champion previously, and she's a really good one at that. I would give Rhonda an A. Black Knight. Black Knight's very interesting, man. He's one of the only champions in the game who has an increased defense that lasts for as long as the cooldown is. So we get a big version continuous heal and increased defense on a 2-turn cooldown, lasts for 2 turns. He's also tough to kill because of his passive, and he has last breath. It doesn't hit that hard, honestly. But what I would say about this dude is he's really good for a continuous heal, obviously, and for increased defense. But overall, he's also a little bit limited in scope, you know, really solid, but not going to blow you away or change your account forever, I don't think. So overall, I'll give him a B-. Staltus Dragonbane. I think I'm going to go S tier on Staltus, guys. One of the best, if not the best, defense-based nukers, damage dealers, and all-around just amazing champion in the game. He's got an AoE stun. Each hit on a 2-time hitter has a 65% chance of placing a stun. It's on a 3-turn cooldown. That's very good. He's a defense-based nuker who brings his own increased defense buff on a 3-turn. On a 4-turn cooldown. He's also, it just smacks. He smacks. You can read the ability, but he has 2 really strong nukes. And then you add, you know, that alone is A+ or A tier, but then you add whenever an enemy attempts to place a weaken, decreased defense, or a poison on this champion, it reflects them back to the attacker. It makes him one of the best speedrunners for Dragon in the game. Dragon Hard, especially. He's on, I think if you have him, he's gonna, like, what, 99% be on your Dragon Hard team. He's really, really good. He has defense in all battles by 30% as well. One of the hardest hitting defense-based nukers, S tier. Manaya. Oh, Manaya, I think she needs a buff. Speed in all battles on the aura, right? She's got a pretty nice kind of revival if Koronar's on the same team. She has a heal. She has another heal. And honestly, I just want a little bit more from this kit overall. I think that without Koronar, she's a solid support champion on paper, but when it comes to actual utility inside the game, I think that she needs just a little bit something else, right? Like a cleanse. You know, she does have block debuffs, to be fair, but it's on a 4-turn cooldown. I think if you just change this to a 3-turn cooldown, it would be a lot better. I'll give her a C. Maybe I'm a little harsh there because everything's objective, guys, obviously, right? Or subjective. Depends on who you have on your account, what teams you have, where you're focused on, blah, blah, blah. I'm just doing the grades to just add a little bit of sprinkle of fun and opinion to the video. Hillier, defense-based champion, a boatload of defense. He's got a really cool kit. He's increasing his defense on the A1. He's got a heal on the A1. He's got a shield on the A2. And then he's transferring debuffs from all allies to an enemy, then attacks an enemy. So it's better than a cleanse because instead we're putting it on an ally. The only downside is you need a lot of accuracy to make sure you're pulling this off, right? So it's not as simple as a cleanse in that regard. The good news is it converts his resistance into accuracy when using this skill, which is really nice. So you can build him to be like a super uber high resist tank. Whenever this ally that has 2 or more debuffs is attacked, he'll absorb 30% of that damage. A nice little passive mitigator there as well. Hillier, honestly, I like him, but the shield is based on his damage inflicted, and he doesn't hit that hard at all. So it's not a big shield like you would expect, similar to like a miscreated monster, right? I'll give him a B+. Timid the Fool. Good old Timid, HP-based champion. He's got a lot of HP. He's got an AoE, decrease the duration of all enemy buffs by 3 turns. Really good on a 4-turn cooldown. This will help evade polymorph, right? Polymorph will not trigger against decrease buff durations. I made a whole video about how I was wrong on this dude. I really underrated him. An AoE on a 4-turn cooldown on the A3 as well. He hits pretty hard too. You know, he's not like going to be your go-to nuker, but he can smack for an HP-based champion. He has an increased accuracy on everybody and a true fear on all enemies for 1 turn. Good control there as well. He gets a lot better when Kaja the Rai is on the same team. They're a tandem that really does, we'll talk about a lot of tandems obviously in today's video. They're a tandem that really does truly benefit a lot from each other, right? The whole is greater than the sum of the parts. Anyway, Timid the Fool, I will give him a B. Rathalos, Blade Master. Well, we all know he can smack, right? He's part of the recent login reward campaign with the Monster Hunters. He's got an AoE. He's bringing his own increased crit damage as well as increased speed. And then he's got the every second use of this skill will do an AoE on the Spirit Step Slash as well. He can dish out some just insane damage. He's really, really good nuker. He is limited at least in the late game to mainly PvE, to Hydra, where he has the opportunity of pulling off, you know, multiple attacks, so you can get a lot of value out of this Spirit Step Slash, which is where his damage can really ramp up because he's ignoring defense, 100% the target's defense if they're a boss. He also has the burn synergy. Overall, he's a bit limited in scope. He's not bringing any essential debuffs or anything like that. He does have a chance on the A1 of decreased defense, but he can definitely deal some nice raw damage for a lot of players. I'll give him a B+. Lugan the Steadfast. I made a whole video about him recently as well here on the channel, guys. Dude, he's solid. He's got this amazing A1. And this is like kind of the point of the video that I made on this guy. Heals all allies by 25% of the damage inflicted. I mean, that's like a little mini Vrask that he's got going on, right? You build him with a 100% crit rate. Not only is he putting a shield on himself, which is nice, based on his HP, which scales very well. Again, he's an HP-based champion, another HP-based champion here in Bannerlords. But also, this heal can really add up. Like 25% of, if he's doing, you know, 20,000 damage, you're looking at a 5k heal. It's really significant, right? And every time he uses the A1, that happens. He's also got increased defense, ally protect on a 3-turn cooldown, increased defense on himself, I should say. But this was buffed. It was brought down from a 5 to a 4 to a 3 when booked. And then he has an AoE block active skills too, so some control in his kit as well. I'll give him an A-. I think he's a really good champion. Septimus, man, he's been power crept to the nth degree, guys. He was the best single target enemy max HP ability in the game, hardest hitting on Holy Sword for years. And then Newt came around, well, Akrisia came around first, then Newt, who's the same affinity as him. He still can smack with this ability, Holy Sword. It's not an AoE like a Royal Guard, but it can deal tremendous damage. So he's a bit, you know, more limited just due to a lot of availability of better options out there. Newt was obviously a fusion previously. I'll give Septimus a B-. Again, a bit limited, but very good at what he does, right? Richtoft the Bold, he has an AoE on the A1, making him a nice viable candidate for a stun set. Moreover, he dishes out some serious poisons on Bloodletting. He's only attacking one enemy 3 times, but he's placing that poison on everybody. So each hit, 3 poisons on a 3-turn cooldown on everybody, makes him really good for a poison combust team, right? Especially like Dragon's Lair, alongside an Eleanoril, alongside a Xavia, etc. We have Curse Hold, which does more damage for each poison on the target. Can be nice against bosses, but really, it's all about the poisons and the AoE on the A1, whether you're looking for control or just damage vis-a-vis a poison team. Overall, though, his base stats really suck, for a legendary especially. And he's not one of the best legendaries out there in the game, but he does have his use case, so I'll give him a B. Kaja the Rai. So she is Timid the Fool's companion champion. I think she's quite a bit better than Timid in a vacuum. She's a reviver on the A2. I'm always thrown off by that. I want the revives on the A3, man. So reviver on the A2, which is interesting. It's a pretty solid revive on a 4-turn cooldown, right? And then she has a Terminator fill and remove 2 random debuffs from each ally. If Timid the Fool's there, they get the full cleanse, right? And then we get a block debuffs on all allies for 1 turn. There's on a 3-turn cooldown. Royal Flush is not a bad ability. The best part about her kit is her speed, her base stats. Like, she's very, very fast. She's nice and tanky, a lot of defense, which we want from a reviver. So she's a very unique reviver. She's got a little bit of, I guess, a little bit of Pythion kind of going on. You know, different in a lot of ways too. But having the semi-cleanse and the block debuffs on a 3-turn cooldown, she adds the turn meter fill there as well. Overall, I would say an A-. She's like a really cool reviver. Somehow they still find ways to add compelling new champions to a game with like 1,000 champions in them. And I think she was that personally. Acelin the Stalwart is the first faction lord in the game at the time of this recording, the only faction lord inside the game. He's available through Prism Shards, which is a big bummer to me personally. Conceptually, this is really cool though. The champion himself, which is the point of today's video, obviously, is I think he's great. He's a defense-based legendary champion. He's got a stun on the A1. He's got a heal all allies by the total value of all shields on all allies. And then he's removing the shields and attacks all enemies based on the shield value. Very interesting. I don't have him, so I can't believe 102 people have already made reviews on this guy. Wow, a lot of people, a lot of whales out there, I guess, right? The cool thing is, though, as we get into his passive and we get into his A3, he has these Banner Lord Unity abilities, right? So, for example, Faction Allies instantly activates the skill whenever an ally is revived, will not put the skill on cooldown, also places a block damage buff on this champion for 2 turns, and buffs placed by this skill cannot be removed. I mean, really powerful ramp up, right? We also have allies under shield are immune to CC debuffs. Allies under ally protect, 20% chance to when counterattacking when hit. Value of ally shields is increased by 100%. I mean, this is a lot. It's a lot that he adds to the game. Also, an improved aura on top of all of that. I'm gonna say he's S tier, but that's also a very early grade. You know, I really want him badly, and I don't think I'm gonna get him, unfortunately. But I love the idea of Banner Lord or Unity Lords or whatever. I just don't love the implementation, but I don't want to hold that against him. Maybe A+, maybe S, I don't know. Raglan, well, she's got a triple hitter with turn meter increase on the A1. Very, very good and underrated A1 on Repent. She's got a cleanse on the A2, and then the heal is proportional to her attack. And her attack really does matter a lot if you're looking for a big heal out of this ability, right? So you need to scale that attack up quite a bit. I would take advantage of the accessories in order to do so, because it doesn't scale that well at 1100 base. And then she has Miracle. It's a 2-turn heal with a full turn meter. It's a very, very good heal. Still arguably one of the best, if not the best, single target revives inside the game. Did I say heal? I meant revive. Defense in all battles by 33%. I'm going to say A+. She's still got it, man. She's still got it. She's an old school champion that's still really good. If I had to buff her, though, I would bring this down to a 3-turn cooldown, because that's the only kind of power creep that she has in her kit. This Mercy, we're really looking on these cleanses to be 3 turns. Baron, they reworked Sky Piercer. It used to be a secret skill. Now it's just always active on a 4-turn cooldown. They changed it from ignoring 100% of defense to 50% of defense, but it's still an insanely good ability, one of the hardest hitting in the game. You can still ignore 100% defense with a Savage or Lethal set, plus the Helm Smasher Mastery. Plus, his A1 is one of the best speed farming abilities in the game. You kill somebody, and then you kill everybody else with surplus damage, right? Like, really, really, really good. So, Baron, I will give an A+. I think he's just one of the best attack-based nukers in the game. Who we got left here? Okay, still a couple more. We have Taurus the Fierce. Taurus is the best HP-based nuker in the game. Not even really close. A lot of people are asking for this dude to be nerfed. He's got a 2-turn stun. He's got constant pressure where his damage just goes up exponentially for the number of buffs that are on him, right? He also has these annoying passives. He's counterattacking. He's placing fears. I mean, he's got a long kit. I'm not going to read it through in the interest of time, but he's insane. He's an absolute account game changer, not just in arena, but absolutely everywhere in this game. If you're building him, if you have him, if you're lucky enough to have him, you probably already know this, but your consideration ought to be obviously crit rate, crit damage, but HP, scale it up as high as humanly possible, and just have a lot of buffers on the team with him, right? Even if you don't have Marichka, that constant pressure is going to do so much more damage for every single buff that is on him. Next up, Marichka. Oh, by the way, Taurus and Marichka are S+ tier, right? 2 of the best champions in the game, if not the. Marichka the Unbreakable has one of the best heals in the game, 40% of her HP. 40% of her HP, if you scale it high enough, is going to be 100% of some of the allies that you're healing, right? She also has a protected strengthen on the same ability on a 3-turn cooldown. She has a cleanse as well. She gets an extra turn if 5 debuffs are removed. She has this broken passive where she's reviving everybody after she dies. Only way to mitigate it is block revive, obviously. And then she's placing a block damage on all allies whenever anybody receives 1 bomb, poison, or HP burn. She has speed in all battles, and she's absolutely insane. S+. Quintus the Triumphant. Got my hands on him a few months ago now, and he's okay. He's okay. He's the reward for, you can see the reviews are not very glowing on him. The cool thing, I did a whole video on him, but basically TLDR, he's a reward from Live Arena, and by the time that you get him, I mean, you probably have better nukers, honestly, right? Like, that's the problem with Quintus. It's going to be a theme that I constantly echo in today's video, specifically around Doom Tower hard champions, right? It's the same thing for these champions that take a year plus to get your hands on, sometimes even longer than that. Oftentimes, by the time that you actually get them, they just don't have a profound impact on your account because you already have better options. So I think that's the knock on Quintus personally. He does hit hard, but just not as hard as some other nukers out there, like Baron, for example, you know? So I'll give him a C+, B- in that territory. All right, we made it through 1 faction, a few more to go.
I finally a place to sleep here tonight.
High Elves, Eleanor. She's so freaking good. She's so good. We know about her because of the combust, right? That's going to instantly activate all poisons, deals all damage on to all enemies instantly. There's no damage mitigator there against bosses like there is in Xavier's kit. There's no deny revival like there is in Xavier's kit as well. So there's a trade-off there. She's placing her poisons on the A2 as well, which is nice. And then she has a burn on the A1 that cannot be resisted. Such a sneaky A1. It's not a 50% chance of placing a burn. It's a 100% chance of placing a burn. It makes her one of the strongest burners in the game as well as a poison activator. Her base stats kind of suck, but who cares? She's A+. Pixniel. Oh, they buffed her a lot, and she's a lot better than she used to be. She's got all kinds of freeze synergy. Basically, she's going to benefit from freeze even if the other team has it. She's also placing freeze on her A3, which is a proper AoE. It's not X times at random. It's on a 4-turn cooldown, which is kind of the standard in the game for the most part. She also has this nice A2 now with an increased defense and a continuous heal, and then attacks enemies under freeze. That all being said, she requires a lot of books. Look at 7 books of damage. She requires a lot of books, which is this is so unnecessary, so ridiculous on the A1. The thing with Pixniel is, guys, is this Grip of Winter. It infuriates me. I give her probably a B-. She's not as awful as she used to be, but she can help out a lot of players too. But it's so frustrating because you want to lead in most situations with Grip of Winter, which is the increased defense, continuous heal to support your allies, right? Maybe set up your defense-based nukers, whatever it may be. However, she's not attacking anybody because she doesn't have time to use her freeze yet, right? So she's really a PvE, even though a lot of her kit feels like she's an anti-Torment, anti-freeze in the arena, anti-frostbite, you know? But in practicality, it doesn't work that way. So I would say she's limited mainly to PvE, and I'm not sure if her kit justifies the number of books that go into it. So again, B- feels about right to me. Alexander the Sharpshooter, another champion who people absolutely hate. 2 of the most unpopular champions in the game back-to-back. Alexander was based on Simple, a Navi, Pro, AoE, decrease defense, with potential of weaken against some factions, and Born to Win does it a lot of damage. He can dish out some serious damage. That's the one thing that you got to be aware of on this dude. However, that being said, he's kind of like a glorified AoE decreased defense champion, you know, who can deal some damage. I would give him a C. I'm not as down as a lot of people are on this guy. I just don't think he's anything special either. Strategos Insulin. I actually don't have him. I think he's the only high elf I don't have. So I don't have any first-hand experience with him, but he's a defense-based champion with a lot of defense. His kit looks pretty good. He's got a provoke on the A1 chance. He's an AoE. Before attacking, he's decreasing the duration of all enemy buffs and placing a decreased speed, all on a 3-turn cooldown. And then he has an ally protect and an increased defense on himself, counterattack on himself as well. And on the A1, when counterattacking, he has a 50, make it 65% chance to place that provoke on each hit. So really nice synergy on his kit. He also has heals built in. I think he's a really good support champion, but You know, interestingly enough, he was added to the game around the same time as Skaramis was, and they kind of look alike too. And I actually think Skaramis's kit is, I don't know, better, but not that bad comparatively, right? They both have counterattack, they both have provoke. So anyway, I'd rather have Islin, excuse me, but I would probably give him like a B. I think he's good, but not amazing, you know? But, you know, pretty good scores here. Shiramani. I used to kind of hate on Shiramani a little bit, and boy, have I been leaning on her heavily in Cursed City. So I kind of have to eat crow a little bit. She has a good heal here. She heals one ally and then other allies by 20% of their max HP. Continuous heal on targets with full HP, which is very nice. And then she has an AoE freeze. She also has a triple hitter with freeze on the A1. Good control, good heals. Could probably use a buff, though. I'll say B. Lana Therrell. Ooh, I love Lana Therrell. No idea what these scores are talking about. I think he's really good. He's an ally attacker. He's got increased crit damage, 4-turn ally attack. All allies are joining. Perfect. Great ally attack ability in finest hour. Plus, he's got an AoE with a shield, right? So a lot of support. He's super tanky. You can throw him in like a bolster set. He's good almost everywhere. Very versatile champion overall. And yeah, I just think he's exceptionally good ally attacker and support built into one. And he's a previous fusion, I think, in the game too. Not a fragment summon, but a fusion, I want to say. I didn't go for him. I pulled him after the fact, and boy, I found myself being really impressed with him. I'm going to give him an A. I think he's that good. Basilius Ronus. He's gotten like 2 or 3 buffs over the years. He's still got a super simple kit. An attack-based champion with a triple hitter, ignoring increased defense, shield, block damage, as well as 50% of the target's defense. It can hit hard. Not as hard as you might think, but it can hit hard. He's got an AoE with a stun. Also turn meter by 50% if the stun is not placed, which is always awkward to me on a 4-turn cooldown. It's okay. They buffed this ability several times as well. They turn it to 100% on the stun as well. I still think that he's just okay. I would give him a B. I think B minus, you know. He's not bad, but he's not a standout to me. Deliana. Oof. Very good. Another free champion previously. Login, loyalty, whatever. AoE on the A1 with leech and AoE on the A3 with block buffs. She's got the, if they're under block buff, she's got a debrief spread with a decreased resistance. She got the passive where she increases her accuracy for every 1,000 HP. A strengthen on all allies every time this hero's HP drops below 50%. Very good passive, very good kit. And the cool thing is she can deal some serious damage too. You can run her in a stun set. You can run her as a damage dealer. She's tanky. You can use her for Hydra with the block buffs. I think she's very good. She's actually grown on me quite a bit over the years. Had a video with Drock, excuse me, Big Papa, talking about people that, you know, kind of surprised us over the years. And Deliana was up there for both of us. I'll give her a minus. Lysandra, the queen of speed. She got speed in all battles. She got energize. She's got exhaustion. Fully depletes target's turn meter. Energize. Same thing with the enemies. Good in arena. Good just as kind of a motor to keep your team running basically anywhere. Exceptionally good against Dark Fae, who's arguably the most important farming boss on Doom Tower. So she's bringing a ton to the table. I'll give her a. Royal Huntsman. Dead aim. One of the few abilities in the game that has 100% ignore defense on it. It can smack. It's one of the hardest hitting single target abilities in the game for that reason mainly. The multipliers aren't insane. They're good, but they're not insane, but that's what the damage comes from, excuse me. He also has an AoE decreased defense if the attack is critical, which is kind of annoying. Overall, he's a little bit more niche, but he's still like solid. I'll give him a B. A B, unless he's hitting you in the arena, then he's an S tier, right? Again, with a lot of these champions, I'm judging also on their versatility, I guess. More of a faction war type champion, helping you out in other areas for sure. Yannicka, she's also kind of a freebie. She's in the clan shop permanently for fragments, and she is really freaking good. She's nasty. One of my favorite spirit-based nukers in the entire game. She's got an AoE on the A1 if she's under a veil. She's got an AoE, a really hard-hitting AoE, which, again, it removes shields from the target if she's under a veil or perfect veil. And guess what she has, guys? She's placing a perfect veil and getting an extra turn. So you start out with the A2, you go into the A3, then the A1, AoEs, everybody dead, and she's protected with the Veil too. Really, really good attack-based nuker. She can keep herself alive, and she can kill everybody else. Tatura Rhymehide. Another previous, I think, fragment summon or fusion. Tatura, defense-based, can also smack, hits hard for a defense-based support champion. This Otherworld Breach hits really hard. 4-turn cooldown with a perfect Veil on all allies. Also a shield equal to the damage inflicted, which again, he can smack. So really good in Hydra with that perfect Veil. Also good in Hydra with the block debuffs and the increased defense and everywhere else in the game. This is a really, really solid support champion. Also has a reflect and a chance of placing freeze on the attacker as well on the Glimmer Hide. Overall, just very, very good, very versatile. You don't see Tatura use a ton in the end game anywhere, but that's really not a knock. It's, you know, incredible versatility in the early, in the mid, in the early end game, I guess. Then kind of a little bit of a tail off. That's the only knock on this champion. I would give Tatura. And who knows, right? All we need is one area in Cursed City on the next rotation or whatever that we need this sort of skill set, and then right back up to very viable in the end game. So anyway, I'll give Tatura an A. I think he's that good. Ethos. The old school wave nuker, really, right? But you can use Ethos in the arena too. Outburst does a lot of damage. They actually buffed it to the strong version of Weaken too. And then Extinguish Life is always critical and it always smacks. Never lets down. Good, especially in PvE wave content, but again, for progression can be used in the arena. Nice high base attack, really nice multipliers. Defense, super, super squishy. Bellinor. Bellinor, he got a buff too, a big one. It used to have a single target, decreased defense and weaken. Now it's an AoE, decreased defense and weaken. The cool thing is it's on 3 turns, and you don't need to book it to get those to get it down to a 3-turn cooldown too. Overkill has a massive multiplier, also surplus damage potential, and he's a companion champion as well to Xavia. So you can see the tactical partner ability. Also, an increased crit rate on all allies on the A1, which is kind of nice kind of add-on there. Not something you want to rely on, but increased crit rate like this, it ends up in situations, you might have like a Tatura Rhymehide on your team, right? And Tatura might be built with like 60% crit rate, who knows, right? Just because there's a lot to focus on a lot of support champions. We can't all build them to min-max damage on top of everything else we want them to do. So that's where an ability like this comes into play, right? It's not for your nukers. You're going to be building your nukers with 100% crit rate anyway. But it's for everybody else on your team that can benefit from being crit capped off of an A1, which is really nice. I'll give Bellinor an A- now, you know. I think people are kind of sleeping on him after the buff to a certain extent. Arbiter. Arbiter's still the queen of speed, but she's more than just an arena speed, you know, increased attack and turn meter booster. She's got that beautiful heal. She has an AoE with decreased duration of all buffs on all enemies. And she has another turn meter booster in her kit. So she has 2 turn meter boosters and a revival, but you can use this ability even if it's not a revive. I guess what I'm trying to say is you can use her. She's great in Hydra. She's a mainstay on one of my top damage Hydra clan boss teams. So just really good for arena as well, and really good anywhere, right? She revives. She's tanky. What else do you want, right? So I'll give her an A+. Supreme Elhain, an AoE with damage buff. Resets the crack shot if the skill kills an enemy, which is her A3. This is going to ignore ally protect, strengthen, and shields. Extra turn if you kill an enemy, so you can kind of have a snowball effect from Supreme Elhain. She's my second favorite Supreme. Nah, maybe third. She's not awful, but she didn't blow me away. Overall, I kind of left with an underwhelming sentiment on all of the Supremes, maybe with the exception of Galek, who we'll get to eventually. I'll give her a B-. I just don't think that, you know, she brings anything special to the table, for me at least, to where I'm like, okay, we needed this in the game. We needed this, you know? I don't feel that way. What about you guys? I know she's pretty popular, though, amongst you guys, so you can tell me if you disagree on Supreme Elhain. I forgot if I just graded her or not, but I'll give her a B-. Royal Guard, we love you, but you're not on the list today. Sacred Order, Roshkod the Tower. I don't know, man. He's been power crept like a billion times in this game. Alsgore, Helikath, and I mean, Demitha. I could go on and on and on and on and on. He's not what he used to be, but he can still work. You know, there's a lot of Doom Tower, Demon Lord, teams that are built around his zone of protection with block damage for 2 turns on a 4-turn cooldown. You know, that's about it. I mean, there's nothing else to talk about him personally. He has a lot of HP, so good in a bolster set or something like that as well. I'll give Roshkard a C. I would love to see a buff on Roshkard the Tower. He feels a little bit antiquated. Corvus the Corruptor. Now, this is a cool champion. Defense-based. He's got a decreased attack on the A1. He's got an AoE. First hit, increasing duration of all enemy debuffs. Second hit, increase in the duration of all ally buffs. I love abilities like this. I think they're very underrated, very good. 3-turn cooldown. And then he has an AoE ×2 hitter on a 4-turn cooldown, with each hit placing 2 poisons, so 4 poisons and poison sensitivity on enemies with more than 2 poisons. So he also has decreased the damage enemies under poison inflict up to 25%. So damage mitigation. He's got that great A2, and then he's got the poisons galore on the A3. He's, like I said, he's defense-based, and he has defense in all battles. I'll give him an A-. Really fun champion. Can fit in any poison combust team as well, although he's not like, I don't think he's an essential champion or anything like that, but he's a guy that you pull and you get kind of excited about trying him out, to me. Astralon. Oh, I love Astralon. This dude can absolutely smack, and he has a revival if he kills an enemy on his A2, which actually, when I was messing around with him recently, he was getting a lot of revivals out of this Divine Eminence. Pretty cool. He has a very hard-hitting AoE with a stun. 100% stun when booked on a 4-turn cooldown. So we can absolutely smack, and look at those wings. Oh man, oh man, oh man. I really like Astralon. He's a companion champion with, what's her face? Countess Lix, there we go. So she'll join in on attacks on his A1. Not the strongest tandem, but still fun. Astralon, I give a B+2. Holstring, the smoke monster. I get the Lost vibes from, anybody remember that show?
Not again.
I don't know. He's the king of multi-hitters, man. He's got a 2-time hitter over here. He's got a 3-time hitter over here. He's got Hex. He's got Ignore Defense. He's got a 4-time hitter over here as well. Really, really good damage against clan boss, right? Basically against bosses. Single target damage. He'll surprise you with how much damage he can put out. He's not one of the best champions in the game, but Hex has gotten a lot better. He's got turn meter steal and manipulation built into his kit as well. So he can be like one of those kind of motor champions that surprises you in his damage. Again, I don't think he's like a game changer or anything like that, but he's a lot better, I feel like, than meets the eye. I think he gets a bad rap for just being so single target oriented. He also brings his own increased attack, right? So he'll surprise you with his damage. Very good against single target, very good against bosses. I'll give him a B-. Errol got a big buff, and he's very, very good now if you're just looking for a good arena nuker. He's Force Affinity, which he's always been. It's nice. He's got this Helmbreaker now. It's very good. It used to be single target, used to suck. Now it hits all enemies 2 times, 30% chance of extra critical hit, or a critical hit, excuse me. And then each hit will ignore 15% of the target's defense. It can smack. It can smack. He also has a negation, where he can remove debuffs from this champion, steal all buffs from the target before attacking, extra turn if they're killed, and deals a lot of damage in its own right. I'll give Errol a B. He used to be an F, man. He's come a long way. Abyss. She's pretty good too, man. She can hit hard on both our Mass Impalement and Divine Wrath, right? Divine Wrath especially can hit very, very, very hard, up there with some enemy max HP abilities, depending on the circumstances. But overall, she's a debuffer, damage dealer, and she's good, not insanely good. She's a legacy kind of old school champion in the game. I will give her a B. Glycia, Soul Guide. Glycia. She was kind of introduced to the game to be an answer to Yumekos and Warlords. This champion's skills cannot be put on cooldown, and she has a 50% chance of making them fail or denying the cooldown effect on other allies, which is very useful. She is used a bit in the end game. She's still niche, but she's used a little bit. I've seen her a few times in Gold 3. However, I don't really get scared when I see a Glycia Soul Guide. She is tanky, 1500 base defense, which is nice. She has a chance of placing a freeze on a 4-turn cooldown and block debuffs on all allies. Not a bad ability, but it seems like the rest of her kit outside this passive Timeless, it just always has seemed a little bit lacking to me. Like, she's 1 buff away from being a bit more viable. What about you guys? What do you think? I'll give her a B-. Maud. Hi, Mother Maud. Nobody has her at the time of this recording. Probably going to be a while. The more I think about her kit, though, the more I think she's unjustly criticized, I would say, based on how long it takes to get her. She's really, really good in my opinion. She's got an AoE, increase in duration of enemy buffs, or decreasing the duration, then increasing the duration of all ally buffs. 2 turns there on that decrease. And then it heals all allies by 20% of their max HP as well. It's all on a 3-turn cooldown, very good. And then she has a revive. And then on the passive, removes a random debuff from all allies at the start of this champion's turn with a continuous heal now with the lowest HP at the end of this champion's turn. It's a Tawana Rock passive. I think that she brings a lot to the table. I mean, the revival. I mean, picture Tawana Rock with these 2 abilities. It's still a very good kit. You can argue which one you'd prefer, but it's a very, very good kit. I will give her an A+. Martyr, very slow. That's the only knock on her. Very slow. I would love to see that speed get updated. Plarium, if you're watching.
I've got something in my eye.
Come on, man. Her and Raza. She's got an increased defense and a counterattack. She's one of the 4 champions in the game with counterattack after the new mythical was added. She has an AoE decreased attack and a provoke on a 4-turn cooldown. Not a bad ability at all. I mean, increased attack, counterattack, and provoke, and decreased attack, and decreased defense. She brings so much in a tanky build. I'll give her an A. Cupidus. Oh, they gave Cupidus a buff, which is insane because he was already one of my favorite, more underrated attack-based nukers in the game. He has an AoE, a hard-hitting AoE on his A1. He has another harder-hitting AoE with 100% HP burn on his A2. He's got a hard-hitting single target with Flame Out. He's bringing his own increased attack buff on this ability as well, granted 1 turn. And then if he's with Venus, he inflicts more damage, and he's always counterattacking when he's attacked with the AoE on the A1. That's why you see him in Arena with Venus. Very annoying, both in Stone Skin. You also see him in Hydra. He and Venus are on one of my Hydra teams. Very, very, very good damage dealer. I love it. Archbishop, I'll give him a A-. I'm a big fan. Archbishop Pinthroy. Speaking of big fans, I like this dude too. Aesthetically, I just like the look of this guy. He's got a great ability on Holy Word. It's a 3-turn cooldown. He has an increased accuracy on everybody, a heal reduction on all enemies, and a block buffs on all enemies. Very, very good for Hydra. And then he brings support too. He's got a heal. He's got an increased defense, and he's got a shield if 4 more allies are alive, right? So he's bringing a lot of support, and he's bringing a lot of essential, I would say, well, 1 essential buff and debuff on the A2. Maybe essential is too strong for increased accuracy, but it's really nice to have. I really like Archbishop Pinthroy. I'll give him an A. Bivald of the Thorn. He's got an AoE with a provoke on his A2. AoE 2-time hitter, provoke and leech. He's got a strengthen on himself. He can land everything on weak hits, which is so nice. He's got another AoE with X scaling damage for debuffs, but also a heal and a shield. Great provoker. He's got provoke damage mitigation as well. I'll give him a B+. He's not my favorite provoker in the game, but he's super solid. He can deal some damage too with 2 AoEs in his kit. Cernek is an old school void legendary in the game. He's a permanent, I guess if you sacrifice what, like 8 legendaries, what is it? 4, 8, 6? He's available in the token, the life token shop. I would not advise going for sacrificing that many champions unless you're an absolute endgame whale. He's got a great shield here. He's got a continuous heal and an unkillable. Exceptionally good in areas where you're going to be taking a lot of damage, right? Because he's going to heal you and mitigate damage and mitigate more damage with a shield. He can also deal a lot of damage with the A2. He's kind of the old school HP-based champion that can actually do damage. For a long time in this game, HP-based champions were like, meh, damage-wise, except for Cernek. I'll give him a B+. Venus. Great for like Ice Golem, areas like that, where you're just going to need a lot of support on your team, right? He's got a freeze on the A1 too. Venus. Oh, Venus is so good. She's a support champion, but who can deal a ton of damage and be an essential debuffer. And she's tanky as all hell. 22k, 23k HP. She's got poisons on the A1. She's got decreased defense and weaken. Similar to Bellinor, you don't have to book it for the cooldown. You do have to book it, though, to get it up to 100%. So she's definitely worth booking. She's got an AoE with burn as well. She's got burn, poison, both the debuffs, decrease defense and weaken, and remove all buffs from enemies when Cupidus is on the same team. So even better when Cupidus is on the squad. HP in all battles by 33%. One of the best HP auras as well in the game. I give her S tier. Cardio. I give him S tier as well. He's got a cleanse, he's got block debuffs, he's got revive on death. This is all on a 3-turn cooldown. Cleanse, block debuffs for 2 turns, revive on death, it's protected for 2 turns. And then really one of the better ally attacks out there in the game. We have increased crit rate and increased crit damage, and everybody's joining up to attack an enemy. So it's an all ally attack on a 4-turn cooldown with some damage boosters to help mitigate the ally attack penalty built in. Very good. He's got speed in all battles on top of that. He's got a chance of joining in attacks. He's got healing on his A1. Not a massive heal, kind of like a Bad Alcazar heal, but it's nice to have, right? He's just a full package, one of the best champions in the game. You can use him pretty much anywhere. I use him in Fire Knight. Fire Knight on a one-time hitter on the A1 just for this ally attack and for the Angel Song. You can use him in the arena. You can use him. He's just one of those supports you can use anywhere in the game. Constantine, the Dayborn. So that was S tier on cardio. Constantine the Dayborn. One of my favorite nukers. I love this dude. I don't know what it is about him other than just insane damage. Rune Shatter just smacks. Each hit will ignore 10% of target's defense for every leech, decrease defense, and block active skills they're under. So if you can set them up with like a Vlad or anybody with these abilities, you can stack up some insane extra damage. He already smacks even without those debuffs. Quietude is one of the biggest multipliers for a single target in the game. It absolutely smacks as well. He's not my favorite nuker. I don't think he's the strongest nuker in the game, but the fact that he can deny revival to Undead Horde, Demonspawn, Knights, Revenant is a huge plus to his kit, right? Without this, I wouldn't be as high on him, but with Exalted, everybody with Vlad's on the same team, he's really good because there's a lot, newsflash, in the arena especially, there's a lot, especially of Undead and Demonspawn champions, a ton. Like some of the best champions in the game. So really strong. I'll give him a B+. Supreme Aethel, my least favorite out of all the Supremes. I actually got really excited when I pulled her. I was like, wow, I don't know how bad she needs to be because her kit is really cool. She got an extra turn ability with self-buffing, similar to the old school Elhain, or Aethel, excuse me. And then she has an AoE where she's ignoring like everything except for Stone Skin and a freeze, all on a 3-turn cooldown. It reads so good, but the problem is on an ability like this, we don't really care so much about the freeze. We'd rather just kill everybody. It sounds like it's going to be able to kill everybody, but it doesn't, right? It doesn't. And the big problem is it's the then, right? Because attacks all enemies will ignore strengthen, ally protect, and unkillable on enemies under freeze, but she waits to put the freeze till after the attack, right? It's kind of a bummer. She has a chance to put freeze on the Frosty Glare passive too, but I give her a D. I was really underwhelmed by Supreme Aethel. Virtuous the Anointed. Speaking of very underwhelmed, he's got a kind of in a similar way. I guess I could talk to same thing about Supreme Aethel and Virtuous. His kit reads really, really good, really well, right? He's ignoring, or before attacking, he's removing increased defense, ally protect, and strengthen. Can't be resisted. However, he doesn't hit hard. That's it. I mean, it's a cool ability. It's kind of like an Elil. Really cool ability, really cool kit, but no follow through. With 1700 base attack, you'd think he could actually deal some damage. Sadly, it's not really the case. So I'll give him I think he's a bit better than Supreme Aethel, though. I'll personally give him a C. All right, moving right along to the Barbarians. Sorry, guys, I'm not going to edit this video because it's so long, and I would never do this to my editor.
Wait, please tell me this is some kind of sick, tasteless joke.
All 10. Well, talk about power creep. He can smack. He deals a lot of damage. Defense-based champion. He's got increased defense as well. He's got defense aura, good for clan boss, certainly. Old school clan boss. And then he's got revive when he kills somebody. He revives a random ally every time he kills somebody. He's just not as good as he once was, right? Before most people running unkillable teams. I'll give him a C-. I think he needs a buff. Still the drinks. Oh, I think she still got it, guys. I think she still got it. She's got a great heal. Boundless Life. Same as Elva. Similar to Elva. Similar to a Siphi type passive, where she's healing 10% of max HP at the start of every turn. She's got a revive, single target. She's got an AoE stun. She's got a decreased speed on the A1. Decreased turn meter as well. I'll give her an A. She's very good, and everybody gets her, which is nice. Operdin Clanfather. Operdin is interesting. He's one of the better healers in the game, but he's very limited in the scope of his kit, right? He's just all about healing, and if you want healers, you've got a good one. That's about it, though. He's removing block buffs and heal reduction, and then placing 2 continuous heals, a chance of removing another debuff, a little bit of a cleanse there. He's healing more on the A2. He's just healing everywhere. I'll give him a B-. I don't think he's as bad as some people say he is, but he's super one-dimensional, you know, just a good healer, right? There's a lot of good healers in the game. Chronum. I actually don't have Chronum because I don't have any friends. He's the referral program champion, kind of like a ninja light. He's placing burns and then he's activating them. Overall, he's incredibly good champion, especially in like areas like Sand Devil, right? I know a lot of people use him in the way they would a ninja. And basically everywhere else where you might use a ninja, he's pretty good, right? He's placing burns, he's activating burns. So I will give him an A-. Conjure the Cyclone. Maybe an A? Am I being yeah. He's just like a solid burner, right? A? Contra the Cyclone. I love Contra. 3 turn cooldown, and then she's got a triple AoE hitter with like every debuff, a chance of placing every debuff known to man, right? I love this kit. I love her. She's super tanky, 1542 on the base defense. And then No Escape is one of the most underrated passives in the game. She's healing herself each time a debuff expires on an enemy, and she has every debuff known to man in a reflex set. She's amazing for Hydra. This is she can land all her debuffs on weak hits, kind of like Bivol of the Thorn, and then she has a Provoke. 75% chance of placing a Provoke debuff for 1 turn on enemies under 5 or more debuffs at the start of this champion's turn. That's so good. So good. Great Hydra Provoker and debuffer. I'll give her an A-. Elder Skarg. Interesting champion. You know, in theory, people say he has the Hunt of the Marked. If you can place 6 hits on it, it's the hardest hitting solo single target attack in the game. I'm not sure if that still stands. He's got all kinds of synergy between Fear, True Fear. He has HP Burn, True Fear for 1 turn on all enemies if the attack places all 3 extra hits. He's stealing buffs. He's placing, you know, all these debuffs, including Provoke on legendary champions on a 3-turn cooldown. He's always been a bit niche to me, but he's always intrigued me as well. You know, I'll give him a B. What about you guys? Alsgore Crimson Horn. He's Jetney the Giant's companion champion. When attacked, he's placing a decreased speed on the attacker. Great for Iron Twins because he's got block damage and a full heal. Eat that, Rosh card, right? On a resounding rally. I actually think this guy's really good. I'll give him an A. Maybe an A+. A+. Screw it. Look at the Crack the Sky on his A2. He's removing 2 random buffs from all enemies, and then he's placing a big version of continuous heal on all allies for 2 turns, all on a 3-turn cooldown. You add that to the block damage, the full heal, the decreased speed. I think he's a very, very compelling and often overlooked champion. A. Xena, Warrior Princess. Probably one of the more controversial champions added this year. What do you guys think? Overall, Xena is really good. I mean, she's taking away all the drama and stuff. She's got 2 hard-hitting AoE attacks. She's stealing turn meter, which is really nice. Can't be resisted to targets under 2 or more buffs or debuffs. Really solid. She's resetting cooldown, ignoring defense on the Whip of Destiny as well. She's a really good attack-based nuker. I'd give her an A-. Valkyrie. Just still one of the best, right? Simple kit. Simple. When I say a kit this simple, I love her. I have I run her, excuse me, in a reflex set. I run her in Fire Knight. I think she's amazing. She got one of the best shields in the game for 3 turns on a 3-turn cooldown. She got a counterattack as well. Again, one of the 4 champions in the game with counterattack, and Jealousy is so good in the arena and out of the arena. I'll give her an A+. Rorik Wormbane. Oh, Rorik. Some of you guys love him. I don't. He's got single target hitters. He has a pretty hard hitting scale breaker here. He always does this ability when he's counterattacking, by the way. He's immune to stun. What does he have? If you 50% chance of decreasing the target's turn meter by 75%. If it fully depletes the target's turn meter, it turns it into a stun. I don't know. I just never, I went for the Fragment Summon or whatever he was a long time ago, and I've never liked him. I gotta be real with you guys. I know some of you guys in the comments have mentioned that you like him a bit, but I'll give him a D. Raf Matab. Yeah, unfortunately for good old Raf, he does have an AoE 100% provoke, which is nice. But then the reflect damage and increased resistance, it's not a good ability. It's two of the buffs that are like nice add-ons to a kit, but not a highlight of a kit in my opinion. So I will give Raf Matab a C. He's not trash. I mean, it's definitely a kit that you can get some utility out of. I've never been super impressed by him, and I actually did invest quite a bit of time into really trying to get like more out of him, you know? Never really just jived with me. I put him kind of in the same category of a I don't want to cut ahead of myself here, but who is that dwarf? Why am I blank? Beauregard. Put him in the same category as Beauregard, skipping ahead an hour or so. All right. Back on to Jetney, the giant. Jetney kind of grew on me. She can deal some damage, man. Barrier Breach does a lot of damage. So does Towering Might. She's so much better with Alsgore Crimson Horde on the team, though. It's not even funny. She's kind of like Timid the Fool. What did I give him? A B? B minus? That's where I give Jetney to. Archer Queen. Nergigante Archer. Interesting name I've always thought on her. I don't even know what that's supposed to mean. Is that from Nergigante? Is that from the actual IP? I don't know. Either way, she's one of the best champions in the game. She's an S tier. She's got an AoE stun or decreased speed if they're a boss. She's got an AoE hex. She got a 2-turn provoke. 3-turn Hex on a 3-turn cooldown, 2-turn Provoke against bosses, makes her the best boss provoker bar none in the game, not even close. One of the best Hydra champions in the entire game. She got a heal synergizing with the Hex, defense upgrade. She got defense in dungeons as well. Like I said, S tier, just one of the best provoker in the game. So much control on this A2, it's insane. So good, so good. Turvold, he can smack. End of story. Juggernaut just deals so much damage. It's insane. He's got self-buffing. He's got weaken on the A1, but kind of like Taras, just scales, his damage scales so much according to the buffs on him. So yeah, just we want a lot of buffs on him and he can smack anybody. He's cool because he's not ignoring any defense, but he hits like he's ignoring 100% defense if he has buffs on. One of the best raw damage dealers in the game, one of the best arena damage dealers, single target in the game. I'll give him an A+. Ursica Warcaller, super tanky, super fast, 108 base speed. She's got debuffs, decrease, depending on what's higher, their attack or defense. She gives you what you need. She has Ally Protect and a Strengthen, and then she has like this built-in critical hit damage mitigation, which really makes her an elite protector for PvP. Not so much PvE, critical hits aren't that frequent. So I'll give her a A-. I mean, she's a tough champion to grade, honestly. HP in all battles too. She's really good. But I don't think she's quite elite, but she's very good and very tough to deal with on a go second team in the arena. Yakarl the Scourge, got a big buff. Permanently available champion as well, and I think the Bazaar in tag team, and or is it clan boss, clan shop? Either way, now I'm second guessing myself. He's pretty good. He has an AoE freeze now. He can deal some damage now. I thought it was a really good buff, and he's really annoying to go against in the arena too because he has the freeze. And then it can't be resisted by targets with 75% or more turn meters. So if you use this as your opening move, provided they're not under Stone Skin or Polymorph in the arena, I mean, you're getting 100% freeze basically out of this that cannot be resisted. Really strong. So I like Yakarl. I don't think he's an elite champion in the game, but he's very good. I'll give him a B+. Tawana Rock, S tier. I mean, one of the most used PvE endgame champions in the game. She got decreased attack, block buffs, and a debuff spread, most importantly, on the Radiant Suffering. 2 essential debuffs for Hydra specifically. She got increased defense and speed, 2 essential buffs on a 3-turn cooldown, and then she has that invaluable passive. Exactly what we talked about with High Mother Maud, right? So good, specifically for Hydra. but really in a lot of places, right? That you need a cleanser, that you need all of this stuff she brings to the table. She also has decreased speed on the A1 and continuous heal on the A1 as well. S tier. Moving right along. How are we doing on time?
It's time to stop!
Biggin. My first legendary, guys. I love Biggin. AoE, AoE, AoE. Decreased speed, turn meter reduction, stun chance, decreased accuracy. He's a nuker. He's an old school nuker who can bring a lot to the table. I love using him against Dark Fae because of the control that he has on his kit, like opening up with the Molten Slag. He can smack, man. He can smack. He's like a kind of a better version of Bellower or something. I don't know. Or there's some echoes, I would say, of Bellower in his kit. I give him a B. War Mother. She's a bomber. It's weird, man. I think she's the only... I don't have War Mother. I don't know. She's like one of the only legacy champions I don't have on my account. I just never pulled her. It seems like she should be very good, you know? Instantly detonates all bombs if this champion's under increased attack and she's placing bombs here. Bombs have just never really made it to the meta in this game, even with Stone Skin. I'll give her a B-. She really is one of the best sheer damage potential champions in the game. If everything goes right, it just... Does everything always go right? Especially not on bomb teams. I find that their consistency can be frustrating at times. B-. Ignatius. He's got to provoke. Not 100%, but he's got to provoke. It is on a 4-turn. The cooldowns are an issue with this guy. He does have another AoE on a 5-turn, a burn that can't be resisted. Power crept a little bit by walking Tomb Drang. Slow champion. There's a lot of knocks on this champion. He does have defense in all battles. That being said, he can smack with both of his AoEs for a defense-based champion. He's bringing the burn that can't be resisted. Great for, you know, Frostbiter, for example. And then he has some control. I think a B+. He's a really nice damage dealer. I would love to see like a little buff on him, but I think he's good. I think he's solid. Griptech Mossbeard. He's so niche, man. So niche. Very good for Hydra because he has a block buffs on a 3-turn cooldown and he can amp up everybody's damage with his passive. He's putting poisons on allies, but he's also supporting allies. He's got a 2-turn cooldown with a cleanse, accept the poisons, and a heal. So he can really churn through these abilities. You put it all together, you're looking at a really nice end game option to pair with like a Trunda or an obscenely good damage dealer, a Taurus or something like that. But other than that, I think he's still a bit limited. So versatility, I think he scores fairly low. But his kit's not bad either, especially for Hydra. So he's a tough champion to grade, honestly. I'll give him a B. Gerda Bogbrew, she's a login reward champion. She has an AoE weaken. And then she has a chance of placing poisons on enemies without weaken, which is kind of a weird ability I've always thought. Hemlock Surprise is a really good ability. She's a support champion. She's tanky too. She can actually solo a lot of content, believe it or not, kind of like a Bad Alcazar could. So I'm going to give her a B. I'm going to give her a B. I think she gets a little bit too much hate. I had a whole video with YST and he was using her to do some absurd things in the game. So I think she's good. Not great. Korugar Deathbell. A+. Really, really good HP support champion. Has a turn meter fill, has a cleanse on a 3-turn cooldown, right? A la kind of like a Kaja the Rai, a little bit better though. Then we have an Ally Protect and a Strengthen. Ally Protect and a Strengthen, I mean, on a 3-turn cooldown, that's 75% damage mitigation. There's only like 3 champions in the game that have this sort of damage mitigation on all allies in their kit, and it's very good. Conduit of Agonies, what a great skill name too, right? And then the Violence Locus. It's really good as well. You guys can read it. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but it's really good, synergistic, and it just really, really good support champion. And with the Bell's Toll too, I really wanted Korugar and does not disappoint. A+. Shamrock, very fast. You guys know already from what's his face, Killian, that I love the vibe, I love the motif, I love the aesthetics. Increased defense, and then we get the increased speed or the revive on death, depending on their HP. Most of the time, it's increased speed, so it's a good ability here. And increased crit rate too on a 3-turn cooldown. We also have some control on Uncatchable. Man, I wish this was a 3-turn cooldown so bad, but it's still a very nice control ability. Shamrock is underrated. Great base stats, as I mentioned. I would give him a B+. Drockle the Gaunt. Good base stats, very fast, a lot of HP. He's got an increased attack and increased defense on the same ability, which is very nice. Block damage on allies who need it the most, less than 30% HP. It's a really, really good A2. And then he has the shield ability. It doesn't really work as I think that they intended it necessarily, but I won't get into all that. I think it's kind of an underwhelming A3. Overall, good, not great champion. I'll give him a B. Ugr the Worm Eater. Actually just maxed this champion out. I am not super impressed with him. He has an AoE, chance of removing all buffs from enemies, and then a weaken. So a good earth puncture on the A2. Does not smack in terms of damage here. Has an increased accuracy on all allies, and then an increased defense on allies whose defense is higher than their attack. If an ally's attack is higher, places an increased attack instead. I hate I would just wish he had both of them, you know? It doesn't feel like it would be that strong, but when an enemy's revived, he instantly activates Earth Puncture, which is the A2, which is really nice, I would say. So overall, I don't know how I feel about this guy yet. It's hard to grade because I haven't had a lot of time to actually play around with him. Like I said, I just built him, but he seems good, not great. I think B is fair. Blizzard the Howler. I actually really regret not going for this guy. He's got a kind of a cleanse. He's got increased defense. He's got ally protect, all on a 3-turn cooldown, a very good support ability. The mini cleanse just cleanses the CC debuffs, and then he's got an AoE freeze. But really, it's this that I overlooked the most. Whenever this champion is killed, revives them with 30% HP, 30% turn meter, and places a revive on death on them for 1 turn. This little tiny passive on a 3-turn cooldown is what makes him one of the best Sand Devil champions in the game. As last time that I knew, the fastest Sand Devil teams in the game were all featuring this dude. So I overlooked that, and I really regret it. So I'll give him, good for Fire Knight too. He's got freeze. I meant to mention on the A1, 3-time hitter. I'm gonna give him a A. I think he's really solid. You know, boy, I really dropped the ball on that one. Gurgo the Augur. I think this guy needs a buff, man. AoE freeze isn't as cool as it used to be, right? He has an AoE freeze on a 4-turn cooldown with an extra turn, and back in the day, no one had AoE freeze in the game. You know, it was like only a few champions, he and Shiramani, and it made him very unique. Now he does no damage. He just has an AoE freeze with an extra turn. He's underwhelming to me, honestly. I think that I would love to see a buff to him for a Void Legendary. I'm gonna give him a C. Grazer Iron Gut S+, AoE enemy max HP ability, AoE provoke, AoE shield, increased resistance, increased defense. I mean, eat that, Rathmatab, right? Rathmatab has an increased resistance and a reflect damage on a 4-turn. That's the whole ability. This dude's like coming in with an AoE attack, 100% provoke, increased resistance, increased defense. He's got the unkillable on a fatal hit. He's healing everybody every time he's attacked. He's dealing an insane amount of damage because of the enemy max HP ability. Just one of the best champions out there in the game, I think. S. Torgon the Conjoined, a bit underwhelmed with this guy, honestly. What do they say about him? Yeah. For a Void Legendary, that's not the reviews you want to see. He's got a buff spread chance on the A1, which is kind of nice. He's got a heal. He's got increased speed. And then a continuous heal on allies whose current HP is below 50% after the initial heal, which is not usually going to be the case after a heal. So really, it's a good heal and an increased speed. And then he's got increased turn meter of all allies and an increased accuracy, and then a cleanse. Not a bad ability, honestly, but not an amazing one. The annoying thing about this is it doesn't cleanse before we put the buff. So if they have a block debuffs on, it's not going to get the increased accuracy, which is really annoying, you know? Anyway, that's it. I actually give him a C+. I didn't see the need to add a champion like that to the game. He's not trash, but, you know, you could definitely get some utility out of him, but I was hoping for better, I guess, in a modern day Void Legendary. Bellatar Mage Slayer, he's a really weird one, man. He's got on his A1, by the way, he has a 50% chance of decreasing the cooldown of a random skill of the ally with the highest turn meter. Kind of a cool A1. He's got increased attack, increased defense, and a heal on the A2, good A2. And then he's got a pretty good AoE revive, right? He's got a shield, 50% HP, 50% turn meter. I would love to see one of these numbers be 75%. it would make him so much better. It sounds like it's a small thing, but I played a lot with Bellatar Mage Slayer. I used him in the live arena for a long time. Anytime my Siphi would get banned and I needed a reviver with an increased defense, he was my go-to. Overall, he's really, really good, but not like S tier, right? 70%, this is a really cool passive too. 70% chance of decreasing all of ally skills cooldowns by 1 turn whenever they're revived. Pretty good ability, right? Pretty unique. I'll give him an A. A minus, A. I'll give him an A. Good support. Good reviver. All right. Let's move on over to the Lizardmen. All right, Dracomorph. Oh, the good old Draco. He's got the Seeping Pain. They actually nerfed this a couple years ago. It used to be amazing. Now it's pretty good. He's got all these poisons on a 3-turn cooldown, 4 at that. And he's got the decreased defense and weaken. He's been power crept a little bit because they've added, frankly, like between buffing Bellinor and adding other, mythical champions and whatever, other options out there with decreased defense and weaken over the years. He used to be like one, after he got a big buff like 4 years ago, he was one of the only decreased defense and weakened champions. And there was Lydia's, and there's been a lot added. Still a good champion, just not, I would say he was S tier probably 2 years ago. Now I think, because of power creep, I think he's A tier. Roxham. Okay, I won't continue singing because I'm not editing this, and it will be even more cringy than usual.
Why did you change your mind?
This dude's all about decreased defense and weaken as well, right? On a 4-turn, granted. He's all about Veil and Perfect Veil synergy. When everything goes right, when he's under his Veil, he brings his own Perfect Veil as well. He can be a nice combination of debuffs and damage, but I hate the setup on this dude, honestly. I think he's a very fun champion, but fun doesn't always equate to the most viability in the game. So not total trash. I just never really been a massive fan. And I know some of you guys really like him too. I see you guys in the comments. I see your feedback. I personally give him a C+. Basatha. Oh, Basatha. Insanely good kit. Strength and continuous heal, a shield, and then an AoE stun on a 4-turn cooldown with turn meter decrease. Also stuns an enemy when they're revived. But by the time that you get this dude, you probably have, at least a Lydia, right? Probably better options too. He's a really good champion that takes so long to get that by the time that you get him, he's just going to be good, not as great as he should be. Look at these grades, man. They're even lower than I thought. I'm going to give him a B. It's hard to grade him. Fushan, great raw damage dealer, one of the best in the game. Exceptionally good at clan boss. He brings a decreased defense as well on a 4-time hitter. 3-turn cooldown when booked. He's got the AoE stun similar to Syl the Drake's A2, only a lot more damage. Not a lot to say about this lizard, other than he has speed in all battles by 24%. One of the best speed all battle auras as well on a nuker, which is unique. Overall, I'll give him A-. Rosin Scarhide, buff this dude, please. I would love to see that speed get bumped up. I would also love to see this get bumped down to like a 5-turn cooldown, not a 7-turn cooldown. That's insane. Good ability, don't get me wrong. But even with all those knocks on him, right? He still is incredibly good and worth going for a permanent fusion in the game. He's a defense-based champion who brings decreased defense and weaken against bosses with a triple hitter on the A1. Great for Fire Knight, great against bosses anywhere as your debuffer against bosses, right? So he's a tough one. I'll give him a B+. Skull-Lord Vargal. Some of the best base stats in the entire game, up there, non-mythical, I would say. He's got a strengthen on himself. He's got a provoke on an enemy on a 2-turn cooldown. Great Hydra provoker, sneaky little option there on a 2-turn, right? And then we have a AoE decrease attack. His kit is, he can do some cool things, like now he can solo Scarab King as well. So he definitely has some utility. You could put him in a bolster set or a shield set with that base HP. It's nice. I'll give him a B-. Pythion. He's got that great damage mitigation on his passive. He's got the cleanse. He's got the block debuffs. He's got the heal as well. He's got the revive. Man, he brings a lot. He's one of my favorite champions added last year, so I'm very biased. But, well, I guess I'm not biased. I think that he's one of the better champions out there. I think he's S tier. I really do. Just a really, really strong Force Affinity Reviver that we really needed in the game. I really wanted a strong Force Affinity Reviver like this, and he's I think he's the best in the game for my money. Very, very good champion, especially with the cleanse and the block debuffs and the heal. So really good complementary kit with everything else he's bringing to the table. Vergamkar got a big buff 2 years ago, and he's still really good. Still people sleep on this guy. I don't even understand why. He's got an AoE increased defense on all allies with a shield on all allies. He's removing provokes and another random debuff. And then he attacks all enemies with a decreased defense on an AoE. He's also removing a buff from all enemies, 2 buffs on all enemies, 100% when booked. I mean, that's a lot. 3-turn cooldown, decreased defense, removing buffs, removing debuffs. He's one of the better, I really mean this, he's one of the better progression champions in the game. Like, he brings so much essential, and I still think that people sleep on him a lot after his really big buff. I'll give him an A-. Nekmothar, jeez, one of the most wanted champions in the game. A Hydra god. He's got speed in all battles. He's got turn meter every time a debuff expires. He's got increased speed. He's got turn meter increased by 30%, and then an extra turn, then 2 AoEs. AoE would decrease speed in a leech, and an AoE would decrease attack. He is the motor to anybody who has this dude. He is the main motor, 5 out of 5 by far in Hydra Clan Boss. I give him S tier. Krokmar, the Devourer. It's a mouthful of a name, huh? I've not been a huge fan of this dude, but it seems like the reviews are a bit different. Let's see what he does. An AoE with a shield with a heal. Okay. On the A3, he's got an extra turn ability, increased crit rate, increased crit damage on all allies with the extra turn. That basically bumps us down to, you know, more shields. On this champion, though. And then whenever a champion attacks, decreases target's attack or defense by 5%, as well as accuracy and resistance. It's a pretty cool passive, too. I don't know, man. I guess I disagree with these reviews, though. I would give him a B-. I'm not blown away by this guy at all. What about you guys? What am I missing on this big alligator? Chris the Ageless. He's still S tier in my book. Not even a conversation. AoE, decreased speed. He's got the provoke. He's got the increased defense on himself, increased speed on everybody else. He's extending durations. He's doing an ally protect. He's got the debuffs, decreased defense and weaken on his passive, and he starts every turn with a shield. What more do you want from the big turtle, man? S tier. Ramen 2's Drakeblood. Very unique. He's got a quadruple hitter with so much debuff potential. All the good ones, too, or some besides the CC debuffs. And then again, we talked about it with Rhonda. He's bringing the AoE block passive skills or active skills. Just a really, really good neutralizer because we're also 100% chance of removing all buffs from all enemies before attacking. Very good disruptor in the arena or anywhere else. I'll give him an A+. Shagur, AoE, decreased defense and poison. Decreased defense for 3 turns on a 3-turn cooldown when booked. Poison for 4 turns on a 3-turn cooldown. And then he has a sleep, which makes him very good for Sand Devil because he's instantly attacking enemies with a default skill whenever they receive damage from poisons, right? So good control, synergy here, and a lot of damage potential. And again, that 75% sleep, really good, right? On the A1, specifically again for Sand Devil and anywhere you need a debuffer. And poisons, right? Really good damage dealer too. I'll give him an A. Oh, Sulfurion, probably my most wanted champion in the game. Arguably the best legendary burner in the game. He's got an HP burn on all enemies for 3 turns on a 3-turn cooldown, and then he instantly activates on the same ability those burns. He's got a shield on all allies as well. He's also reviving. The best burner who also a reviver. Cool. And then he's got turn meter fill. He's got more burn synergy. Very, very good champion. I think he's S tier. All right, that's Lizardmen. Let's move it along to Skinwalkers here. Norog, the pig. Oh man, Norog is pretty cool, but he's somewhat limited in terms of his versatility. I would love to see a buff to Norog. He's a defense base who has an AoE block buffs. Okay, and that's it. He does have a very nice passive. He's immune to CC debuffs, or excuse me, stun, freeze, and sleep. I would love if they made him immune to true fear, fear, and petrification as well. That would be a really good buff to this dude. And it seems like right in line. These are the small buffs that I would love to see this game do more often, right? It wouldn't break him by any stretch of the imagination, but it's a good update, so to speak, to his kit, right? Anyway, he's got this nice damage mitigator, though. Decrease damage taken by all allies that are under 1 or more buff by 15%. Under no buffs, straight up built-in strengthen, right? That stacks with strengthen still. It's a really underrated passive, one of the best damage mitigators in the entire game here. So he's got that. He's got defense and dunners by 40%. That being said, boy, what a... I don't know. It's hard to get excited about like pulling a champion and be like, wow, Norog! But he's a good carry. He's a great tank. I'll give him a B. Longbeard. One of the better ally attackers in the game. He can also smack, does tons of damage with his A1 and his A2, especially the A2. 2-turn cooldown with a weaken for 2 turns, big version. It's a really nice debuff. Really underrated part of his kit. And then the Horde's Fury, 4 allies, ally attack, damage, inflicted plus 20% to mitigate the damage penalty. So one of the best blender comp champions out there in the game. I'll give him a B+. Hack a little bit in compared to some of the other ally attackers they're releasing in this game, like a Lady Mikage, etc. I think he's a little bit limited, so to speak, but he's still very good. Hacker and Smash Lord. Tough champion at grade. He's got a 4-turn cleanse with a nice heal. He's got a worthless blood offering, doesn't do any damage. It kills him sometimes. Awful ability. He's got a stun on the A1. I would love to, I've said this for years now, I would love to see it buff this to a 3-turn cooldown, and he's a really solid champion. I would probably give him like an A-, B+. Without that, I think he's more of a C+, B-. Razelvarg. Actually had an opportunity to play him extensively on my thumbnail editor's account. Did a guide on him on the other channel. Really cool. The one thing I'll say about him is, you know, he's all about the speed. Each increased speed buff placed by this champion increases his speed up to 100. Insane. You could do some nasty, nasty things with him against Clan Boss. But I was shocked at how much damage he deals. Like, he's a massive damage dealer as well. Great base stats, speed in all battles as well. I'll give the bunny it's tough to grade. He's a tough one, right? A-. Bambus 4-leaf. We weren't sure what to think of good old Bambus. I almost called him Bambi. He's not that great, I don't think. You guys let me know what you think of him, but I'm not even going to read the entire kit. It's a mouthful. I'm not sure if it doesn't work as intended, or if it works as intended, it's just not that good. Either way, I was left underwhelmed by good old Bambus. I'll give him a C. Maybe that's even being kind. Maybe a C-. War Chief, super niche, good for Magma Dragon. That's about it. He's got one of the best provokes in the game, single target. 2-turn cooldown, provoke for 3 turns. What more do you want? He also has provoke on his A1. Super, super basic kit. Again, with champions this niche, I don't even know how to grade this. If you need a Magma Dragon provoker, he's S tier. If you need anything else, he's F tier, right? For them, I'm oversimplifying it, but let's just call him a B. Mighty Uko. I love Mighty Uko. I hate that that he uses this ability just for the increased speed. It makes it tough because you can't really, it's hard to use his team setup. Anyways, an AoE, removing buffs from the target, block buff, very good ability, even after they changed the stun and how it synergizes. Great in a stun set still. He did take a hit, though. He took especially a big hit in the arena after they disallowed this ability to land a double stun. Overall, though, really unique reviver. I'll give him an A-. Brackus the Shifter, great raw damage. He's got a 6-time hitter on Full Moon Rampage. I love the name of that ability. He's got an increased attack on all allies with a strong hitter. He comes back to life and immediately grants an extra turn, which is nice. That being said, outside of Clan Boss or just having a little bit of fun in Arena or Skinwalkers, you know, Faction Wars, you know, you'll see him a ton anymore in the game. He was, I think, a 2019 Halloween champion out of the game. I'll give him a, I don't know, a B-. Nishak Verminlord. I think he's the best bomb champion in the game, even over like a Gaius the Gleeful. An AoE bomb with an extra turn. Bombs deal double damage to bosses. And then another AoE, decrease attack, decrease in detonation of bombs, more bombs on the A1, the best bomb champion arguably in the game. Every time a bomb is placed, detonates, you get 2 protected poisons instead. Oh man, A+. And he can actually do damage too on his nukes, right? Like, he's cool. All right, it is time for the owl, Gwendolyn the Silent. I like the owl, guys. I don't love her, but I like her. AoE decreased speed to leech. She also has a decreased accuracy on enemies with 2 or more debuffs. Really good for Hydra. And then she has another AoEs with increased accuracy, and then a block debuffs. Stealing, block debuffs, and then she can place it on allies if she steals one. Kind of weird. I don't know. I don't really love how that's all. It's like hard to pull off, really, right? But it's not awful, right? She can deal some a mediocre, like an average amount of damage. She's an attack-based champion. She feels more like a support to me, a little bit, you know? That being said, she's bringing enough to the table where I kind of get excited about her. Triple hitter on the A1, too, so good for, like, Fire Knight. I will give her a B+. Snick Track, one of the coolest, I would say, ally protectors in the game. A lot of synergy between reflect damage as well. You know, whenever an ally under reflect damage is attacked, places a leech on the attacker. Very tanky. AoE decreased speed. I think Snick Track is really good. I'm gonna rank him A-. Samson the Masher. I actually don't have Samson. I still want to get my hands on this ape. Doesn't blow me away. HP based champion. The reviews seem about right. An AoE, removing increased defense buffs from enemies before attacking. Extra hit if the attack kills an enemy. I don't know. The removing one buff is never really appealed to me. Like, remove them all. Maybe I'm too greedy.
That's because you are my friend.
Has a self-buffing ability as well, and an increased accuracy on allies with the extra turn. Not bad. Not a bad kit. I don't know. B-. Cleo Tyrix. She's a daily login reward champion that doesn't kick in till like, what, 800 days or something like that? I don't know. It's a long time. But to me, she's probably my second favorite spirit. I know I'm going to attack-based spirit affinity nuker in the game after Yannicka. She can smash with this sky punishment. She's also bringing increased accuracy and has hex, so she's bringing a lot to the table. Fear instead on enemies already under hex, and then feather barrage deals a lot of damage as well, and she brings her self damage buffing ability as well. So like, I think she's great, man. I think she's really good. I'll give her a B+. Ragash, speak of the devil. This dude, so freaking good. He's, yeah, I think some of you guys might disagree with me out of here, but I give him an S tier. I think Ragash is S tier, and I've been trying not to just dish out the S tiers just to anybody here on the video so far. He's bringing his own increased defense on his A1. AoE stun on a 3-turn cooldown, 100% stun and decreased defense. That's super strong, and he smacks on top of it. And then he's bringing strengthened and increased speed and a perfect veil on himself, dude. Yeah, this guy's nuts. Nuts. And a defense-based champion. And the defense in all battles by 30% on the aura. S tier. Oh, Great Hoof. Oh, God. AoE decreased resistance and a block debuffs on all allies with a turn meter fill. It feels kind of like an epic kit to me. I mean, I know the block debuffs is a 2-turn on a 3-turn, which is not an epic type skill. If you look at like a Mausoleum Mage, is a 1-turn. But still, she feels pretty dang close to an epic. I've never been a fan of the cow. I think she's a D. Sun Wukong. What a game changer this little dude with this little monkey was. I mean, yeah, you know his kit. I'm not going to read it all. But this is the never-ending revives in the arena. But even his versatility outside the arena, just really good in so many areas of the game. You can almost use this guy anywhere, right? And he just keeps coming back to life no matter where you go. So with a full turn meter at that, I think he's really good. I mean, stealing all the buffs, like wave content, you name it. I think he's S tier. Coronar, AoE control on the A1, which is pretty cool. He's got the provoke on the A2, 100% provoke, I should say, and a block debuffs, increased defense on himself. He also has an AoE with the decreased attack and decreased defense on enemies with the decreased attack. Great debuff. If this was a 3-turn cooldown or 4 book down to 3, he'd be really good. Right now, he's good. He's solid. He's not meta, but he's really solid. He is a really tanky too, 27k base HP. I like him a lot. I'll give him an A. Tamisha, one of the better spider champions out there in the game. She's got an AoE with 100% burn, and then a stun on targets with 50% or more turn meter, decreased speed on targets with less than 50% turn meter. That makes her great for Hydra as well. Decreased speed and a burn. And then this Burning Regret can deal some serious damage on enemies for each active burn. It stacks up the damage, right? She also has the freeze and burn synergy on the inner heat, which is nice. And then whenever an ally is under a burn, this champion's immune to all of this baloney, which is really cool too, right? So really awesome champion. I like her a lot. She's not as powerful as maybe some of the brand new burners that are coming to the game, but she's still very, very good. And a lot of raw damage. And the stun. And the decreased speed. I'll give her an A. Leo! I just made a guide on Leo on the second channel. Awesome Roar is incredible. He's got the True Fear and a lot of damage. And a weaken before attacking, and his damage scales for HP lost, and he's got the unkillable, so basically he'll be alive with 1 HP and just smack everybody. He's got decreased defense on his A1, and he can't be CC'd as long as this Rage of the Pride is not on cooldown. I think he's S tier. He's one of the most unique attack-based and versatile attack-based nukers in the game. Very, very good. All right. That is it for Skinwalkers. Orc time, guys. We have Grohawk the Bloodied. Oh, Grohawk. They've tried to buff him a lot. He has a 2-time random with decreased speed. He's got a turn meter fill on the AoE. And then Lord of War, they took down the cooldown from a 6 to a 5 on his most recent buff. He is stealing turn meter. It's nice. Not great. We see stealing turn meter from epics, you know, from plenty of epics. Skimfos the Consumed. I don't know. There's 2-turn stuns now on epics. Tuak the Wanderer, for example, he's not that good. He's not that good. He's weird because you can use him and still get utility out of him, you know, like a Dark Phase situation, wherever. But he doesn't feel legendary. I give him a D. Kreela Witcharm. Really solid ally attacker. She's unique too. She has the AoE increase attack on everybody, increased crit rate, which is nice. She can deal some decent damage for a support too on her A3. And then she has the stun on her ally attack. It's the upside is it's a stun, and she's attacking the enemy along with them, basically, right? And the downside is it's only 3 allies joining the attack, right? Instead of 4 or all allies. But it's the trade-off you get for a 3-turn cooldown. She also has a little shield on the A1. I'll give her a B+. Tila Gormain. Oof, she's tanky, and they buffed the hell out of her, like multiple times. AoE with burn, excuse me, AoE with increased burn duration, and a leech, and a hex, okay? And then an AoE with burn and a continuous heal on a 3-turn cooldown. She's placing the burn. She's increasing the duration of burn. She's placing leeches, hexes, stealing buffs on the A1, healing everybody on your team, A+. Daeneg Skull Reap. AoE decreased accuracy and True Fear for 1 turn. Not a bad ability here. Can deal some decent damage to attack-based champion. And then he has the Ignore Shields. The cool thing about this champion, though, is he has the Battle Flow that can kind of synergize with his Healthy Grudge passive. Basically, you're getting extra turn abilities, right? Extra turn. What is it? It fills turn meter by 30%, excuse me, and decreases the battle flow if you kill an enemy, right? And then extra turn every time you kill a high elf or a dark elf. So he hates elves, this dude. He's niche. He's fun. I'll give him a C+. Artak. You guys know how much I love Artak. AoE burn, excuse me, AoE extend duration of burn, AoE instantly activate burn and decrease attack, and another AoE ×2, 3-turn cooldown, placing a burn. His damage scales up. He can restore his HP as well. I love Artak. I think he's such a game changer for so many accounts out there. A+ on this dude. Maybe S tier. Great burn, placer, activator, stun candidate, decrease attack. Amazing. Robar. I think that Robar is kind of like an Abyss. He's got 2 AoEs, and his AoE on his A3 can be one of the harder hitting abilities in the game. He's got the AoE decreased defense. He's got the force affinity. They're the same champion, kind of, sort of, not really. I gave her a B-. I give him a B-. Gomlock Skyhide. He's got a stealing buff chance. He's got an AoE ×2, decreased defense, but it's on a 4-turn cooldown, you know? Really want to see this on a 3-turn cooldown. He doesn't deal enough damage. He's not really bringing anything else. He's a support champion, you know? I don't like him, man. I don't like Gomlock. I give him a D. I'd really love to see a buff on this guy. King Garage, another guy I don't love. 4-time hitter. He's got an AoE ignoring defense on a 5-turn. I think they buffed his multipliers. They didn't buff it enough. I remember trying him afterwards, and I give him a D as well. Back-to-back Ds. I don't like it, but what can I do? Nogdar the Headhunter. There we go. I love Noggy. They gave him a massive buff. First of all, he's sacrificing HP. He's killing himself all over the place. He also has a continuous heal, like awkwardly. I say that because it doesn't feel like it fits his kit at all, but he has a big version of continuous heal on all allies. He has this Last Rite, which is one of the most powerful abilities in the game. Misunderstood abilities too. Last Rite will sacrifice his HP and then swap HP levels and then gives him an extra turn. The cool thing about this ability is that it ignores accuracy. You don't need accuracy to do it. They could be under Stone Skin. They could be under every buff known to man, except for Perfect Veil, I guess, right? Or Veil. And it will work every time, right? So powerful. And then with the extra turn, you just go into a hard-hitting AoE attack or an A1 where you get an extra turn if you kill the enemy. And the best thing is they buff this, and it's insane. When he dies, as long as he's the only champion dead, he comes back with a full turn meter immediately. It's so strong, man. I love Nogdar. He can smack. That being said, he's not like a meta champion, far from it in the game. I'll give him an A-. I think he's really slept on after his buff. Iron Brago. He's really good. He's got an AoE provoke that does a lot of damage, right? He has a decreased attack on the same ability, and he has increased defense. He has a 2-turn stun if they're under 2 or more buffs on a 3-turn cooldown. Increased defense for 3 turns on a 3-turn cooldown, right? He's up there with Black Knight, right? As having that ability that can just keep increased defense up really all the time unless it's removed. Or unless it's outpaced by a faster ally. And then he has Bestow Strength, which can bump up the defense of all allies at the same time. Then he's got defense in all battles. Doom Tower battles. Iron Brago, not as good as he maybe once was. When he was introduced to the game, like everybody was using him for clan boss. Not as essential anymore, but still very good. Damage, buffs, control. I'll give him an A. Varl the Destroyer. Oh man, Varl's interesting. He has an AoE with a weaken. Also play a decreased attack on the enemies who receive the weaken. 3-turn cooldown, not a bad ability, right? And then Calamity Torrent. He's attack one enemy ignoring defense. He does decent damage, but overall, even with the mass murder, he can put out some damage. I've just never been a massive fan. Again, it's another Doom Tower letdown to me. I give him a C-. Not a fan. Okay. Jag Bonesaw, another dude I'm not a fan of. I'm sorry. I hate on Orcs big time. Jag, man, I felt like everybody was feeling Jag Bonesaw after he came out. Everybody was really high on this dude. I was excited to when I got my hands on him, I'm like, I can't wait to build him. He just doesn't deal enough damage to me, right? That's really what it all comes down to with a lot of these in the Orc faction. Yeah, people seem to agree. I'll give him a C. I wish I was a bigger fan of this dude. I'm just not.
Is he always like this? Pretty much.
Warlord, S tier. I mean, he's got Orcish Rituals, one of the best control ability in the game. Certainly up there, right? For legendaries, certainly. Putting their skills on cooldown, also fully depleting their turn meter, potentially 60% chance of doing so. He's got block debuffs, he's got a shield, and he's got a heal on Protection of Gods. What a great 1-2 punch, huh? You come in with the control, and then you come back around and you just support your team. Really strong on a 4-turn cooldown too. So strong. S tier. Angar received a big buff recently, a real big buff, and I loved it. I love what they did with this dude. He's now an exceptionally good provoker. He has a 75% chance of placing a 2-turn provoke. That's all you need to know about him, really. I mean, It's a 3-turn cooldown, 75% 2-turn provoke. It makes him the second best Hydra clan boss provoker in the game after Archer Queen, and it makes him arguably the best provoker for PvP content in the entire game. He's void affinity, not to worry about affinity matchups, and he has a 75% 2-turn provoke on a 3-turn cooldown. Umbral has a 2-turn provoke, but she's locking herself out. Molly has a 50% chance at a 2-turn provoke. Angar, I mean, great buff. What can I say? I think he is a champion now. I used to hate him. Now he's not bad. Raka Viletide. Oh, Raka. She's interesting. She's fast. Good base stats here. She has an increased attack and a shield on all allies. It's a good ability. And a cleanse, I should say. A very good ability. And then she has a revive. With block debuffs, I wish there was like a shield or a little bit more protection built onto this revival. Other than that, though, I have nothing bad to say about this champion. She's got a turn meter fill of all allies at the start of each turn, which is nice. The reason she's not used is a lot of people can kind of compare her to a Duchess, right? Increased attack, and, you know, she has a cleanse. Duchess has a block debuffs, a better revival, and damage mitigation on the passive instead, which I think is kind of an unfair comparison. I mean, we could compare every reviver to the game to her in a way, but there's no doubt about it. You know, in the end game, people prefer, who have the option, right, who have the luxury, people definitely prefer Duchess. That all being said, she has the same speed aura as well. That all being said, I think she's got a really solid kit, man. I think she's an A. Supreme Galek. We talked about the Supremes a lot here. Supreme Galek's really good, right? He's got instant activation of burns, right? He's got turn meter fill there as well. And then he's got an AoE. He's got a HP burn and block buffs and a decreased speed on target's turn meter is higher than 50% on a 3-turn cooldown. This is one of the better Hydra clan boss abilities out there in the game, man. It's very, very good. Whenever he receives that True Fear, instantly removes it. Then fully heals his champion and grants an extra turn. It's on a 4-turn cooldown, but really helpful as well. I would say he's a bit limited to Hydra clan boss, but he's very good there. Tough champion to grade. I'll give him an A. Okay, let's get through Demonspawn before I have to take a quick work call, and I'll take a little intermission. You guys won't know anything, but I will. All right, Prince Kaimar. Amazing against Dragon, because he has a poison AoE on the A1. Amazing for the arena, and for Sand Devil. He's removing buffs, but he's placing a sleep for 1 turn. Great opening move for the arena. Remove buffs and CC the enemy team. And then Seal of Magic makes him a motor that runs Seer teams, that runs Theodore teams, that runs Eleanoril teams. He is the reset, the ultimate reset with a turn meter fill. Very versatile. You can use him almost anywhere. He's got a great speed aura, S tier. Tyrant. He's got one of the best support abilities in the game. Increased defense and ally protect on a 3-turn cooldown, right? Just really solid. Got an AoE burn on a 3-turn cooldown for 3 turns on the burn as well. And then damage mitigation under burn. He's got HP as well in all battles by 25% on the aura. Overall, very tanky too. Super underrated. Doesn't have like a burn instant activation, but like I'm getting a little nitpicky here too. I think he's an A+. Countess Lix. The victim of long cooldowns. I mean, if this was a 3-turn cooldown, it'd be so nasty. It's a 4-turn. Still a good ability. 3-time hitter with decreased speed. And a 7-turn cooldown. Can get it down to 5, but 7? Oof. Still a great ability. She's also decreasing the cooldown of all allies except this champion by 1 turn. She's one of those champions that, and she's the companion champion to Astralon as well, right? She's one of those champions that on paper, she looks really good. And then practically speaking, she's, you know, she doesn't exceed value over replacement as much as you might think she would. That being said, still a really nice kit. I guess the problem is like, you know, we have like a Visix the Unbowed, for example. She has decreased speed on an AoE on a 3-turn cooldown. She brings a bit more. She brings an AoE provoke on a 3-turn cooldown, not a 5-turn block active skills, you know, that can be, you know, I don't know. I think that she's a B-, and it kind of pains me to say that because I want her to be good so bad. Just think there's better options that are kind of free, honestly. Hefrak, A+. He's so unique. He does a lot of damage, extra hit. This hits really hard, right? Self-buffing ability as well. But then it instantly activates this ability, the Hefrak Scorn, his big nuke, whenever an ally dies. You can throw him in a stone skin and just wait for somebody else to die, and then he just kills everybody. He's a really unique attack-based nuker, and I'm a big fan. Drexstar Blood Twin. He's got the self-heal. He can solo content. He's got an AoE provoke, hard-hitting defense-based ability. He's got a burn on his passive. He brings a lot to the table, Drexstar Blood Twin. I really like Drexstar. I think he's really fun. He's permanently available in the Bazaar as well, so everybody can go for this dude. I think he's A+. He's just got so much versatility against bosses, right? With that burn. Candyman, Canderfon. Oh, Canderfon. One of the best, I think the best maybe, the best go second attack-based nuker, because you can protect him with his own perfect veil, and when he's under the perfect veil, he does everything better. He has damage mitigation built in, he has extra damage built into his kit, right, through his passive, and Butcher's Glee hits very hard, and he has one of the hardest hitting A1s in the game, meaning even against like a Warlord, for example, or a Yameko, for example, a Night Queen Crixia, you can still put his skills on cooldown, and he's still a massive threat with the Punish Hubris ability, right? So for a lot of reasons, I think he's a very, very good champion. He also used to suck too. He was buffed like 3 or 4 years ago. Massive buff, right? And he's really good now. I'll give him an A+. Sissia Flame Tongue. Oof. She got the AoE burn and then the AoE burn activation, right? She got a triple hitter on the A1 as well. Great for Hydra. Great for Spider, one of the best Spider champions in the game. I give her A+. Vassal of the Seal. You know, compared to some of the other Doom Tower champions that we were kind of crapping on earlier, I think Vassal of the Seal is actually really good. I really do. The reviews, you would never know it from looking at them. They're really crap. But I don't understand what they're seeing that they hate so much. Really, it comes down to he has a burn on the A1. It's conditional, whatever. He has an AoE, True Fear, and Decrease Attack on a 3-turn cooldown. It's not a game-changing ability, but it's really solid. True Fear is really good. Decrease Attack is really good. And then on the A3, Demon Possession on a 4-turn cooldown with the extra turn is like one of the best heals in the game too, right? Balances HP levels, all brought up to the ally with the highest HP, and then extra turn after that, right? Really good heal, like one of the best in the game. And good control and damage mitigation. Damage mitigation here too. Yeah, what can I say? I think that Vassal the Seal is a B+. I think he's a lot better than the reviews would indicate. Wither the Crowned, one of the best healer supporters in the game. She's bringing a cleanse and a heal. Her max HP, 30% on a 3-turn cooldown. This is her A3. She also has an AoE on her A1 with a leech and a continuous heal. And then she has a increased defense and for 2 turns on a 3-turn cooldown, a continuous heal on all allies, and then instant activation of continuous heal. Plays a continuous heal on the ally with lowest HP at the start of each turn on top of all that. And she's super tanky, and she's super fast. That leads to bigger and better heals, because her heals scale off of her HP. You know, I think she's probably my 3rd favorite healer in the game, after Truoth and Marichka. So that's really good. Arguably, you know, top 3, maybe better. Mortu Macabre, very, very good champion. He's the end boss of campaign. He's niche too, though. He's very slow. He has an AoE block buffs. I would love to see a buff to this dude, them to make this from a 5 to a 4-turn cooldown, book down to 3. That way he could have some versatility in Hydra Clan Boss too. He could come in and be your main block buffs champion, and then he could also deal some significant damage to decapitated heads with the Peril ability. I think that'd be really fun. Anyway, that being said, he does have speed in all battles by 24%, great aura. He's, again, very slow, but Peril is, you know, one of those few abilities in the game that ignores 100% defense, and it blocks revive. It's a secret skill. He needs to be attacked to have a chance at triggering it. Good in the arena, limited in scope. I'll give him a B-, just because I would really love to see that buff to give him extra utility. Lord Shazar. He has one of the best arena auras in the game, 32%. He's got a triple hitter on the A1. He's got a bomb that's a 1-turn detonation. Decreases the detonation countdown by 1 if the attack is critical, which is really good. Unfortunately, he is on a very long cooldown, but he's meant to be kind of an arena bomb champion. I think he's been power crept by Gaius the Gleeful a little bit. That being said, though, you know, he has an extra turn mechanic in his kit that can help with a cooldown, especially in longer battles. I think he's pretty fun still. Not awful. He has a hard-hitting A1 in Damnation. I'll give him a B-. Duchess. Well, she's S tier. She's one of the most wanted champions in the game, and for good reason. She's got the speed in all battles. She's got the revive with 70% HT, 4-turn cooldown, a veil, and continuous heal, protecting everybody from being targeted and killed after they're revived. But even the 70% HP, it sets them up beautifully. She has this Shroud of Souls, such a good ability, perfect veil on everybody, increased attack and block debuff. She has a shield on the A1, and of course she has that ever so important damage mitigation, which really just brings everything together and puts her over the top as like an S+ tier champion in the game. Not much else to say about her other than she's incredible, right? Helikath, speaking of incredible, I don't know if it's A+ or S tier. I'll just say S. I think he's really good. One of my favorite defense-based nukers in the game and support. Clan boss, arena, Iron Twins, anywhere. This dude's going to be amazing for you. AoE shield, a really nice shield proportional to his defense, which scales very well. He's got the block damage, which turns into increased defense after it's stolen, removed, or expires. 4-turn cooldown, eat that, Rosh Guard. And then he's counterattacking. Anytime anybody under block damage gets attacked, he's counterattacking with a very hard-hitting A1 that ignores shield and block damage itself. Very good, S tier. Krutraxa, very hard hitter. She got this Curse of Writhing that does a lot of damage, single target, and then gets an extra turn when she can come into the A1 and dish out 4 attacks on the A1. So she's really good for specifically for Fire Knight as a damage dealer in the arena, right? She's a good Rotos. She's like a Siphi Rotos killer, right? This deals enough damage that you can one-shot Siphi if you have her built correctly, obviously. And then after Siphi is dead, you come in and you 4-shot Rotos, you know? So she's really cool. She's been power crept for sure over the years, but she's still really good in some niche use cases. Very niche though. So I'll say a B-. I would love to, maybe a B. I would love to have just something else in her kit, you know? And if we Blood Twin, this dude kind of went from bad, very bad and niche to actually, I think, really good now. Why is he really good now? Well, one, they buffed him, right? They buffed the multipliers to Tormenting Whispers. It used to hit like a total wet noodle. Now it does carry a punch to it, and it ought to for a 1729 base attack. The cool thing about this dude, though, is he denies revival on anybody he kills, right? He has a triple hitter here. Triple hitter is great because you can kill Rotos, but you can also kind of mitigate. You can kill Rotos even with Ultimate Death Knight on the same team, because the first hit goes to Ultimate Death Knight, the next 2 hits go to whoever else you want to kill, right? So it's a way to get around Ultimate Death Knight, which is great. Even with the Soul Reaper or whatever ability, Blessing, excuse me, it will still deny revival because it's not attached to a skill, it's attached to a champion. With Sun Wukong being so popular in the meta, and Ultimate Death Knight for that matter as well, and so many revivers being all over the place in the meta, he shines now. I give him an A-, just for being a little bit niche. All right, let's try to bust out some Undead Horde here too. Crypt King Growl. Oh, Crypt King. He's a really good champion, really fun. He's got an AoE burn, right? And then he's got an AoE freeze and a burn again. And the burn cannot be resisted on the A3. This is on a 4-turn cooldown. It's a very good ability. He's very fast. He's tanky enough that he can solo content, you know? So overall, I was really impressed by this champion. I would give him, I don't know why these scores are so low on him. I'll give him an A. Rotos. Well, I think that Rotos is, I want to make sure yeah. I think he's the best single target nuker in the game still. He can be tough to build. He can be a challenge to build, especially for players who get him early on, because you need a lot of HP on this dude, right? You need to, and his HP does not scale. It's less than 12,000 base HP. His damage is based on attack and HP. You can scale up his HP on vis-a-vis the A2, which is on a 2-turn cooldown, and then eventually you can deny revival, block revive once his HP is up, gain the maximum amount on the A2. Anyway, all you need to know is a lot of freaking damage. You kill somebody with the A3, which you usually do, and you get an extra turn. You can go back into the A2 on a 2-turn cooldown. Also very good because it's a 2-turn cooldown and a 3-turn cooldown here. He can actually get around, or he's a good option for warlords and cooldown champions, right? Because it's such short cooldowns on his abilities. Obviously, he's the companion to Siphi, and he's S tier. Saito. I don't know, guys. I just don't like Saito. I don't know what I mean, he looks cool. I love the backstory of how he's added to the game. I love a lot about him conceptually. I just don't like him, his kit. He doesn't deal enough damage, man. Attacks one enemy, then attacks all enemies except the initial target if there are 3 or more enemies alive. All this work just to get an AoE attack? Nah, it's not there for me. It's not there for me. Vendetta sounds like it ought to be good. It's never... I've tried so many times to make myself like this champion. You guys let me know in the comments if you have a different experience with him. I know it's probably an unpopular opinion, but I give him a D. I'm sorry. I've never was feeling Saito. Elegias. Never was feeling Elegias, or whatever. An AoE with turn meter decrease. Put 1 target skills on cooldown or duplicate copies of them as well. He does have an annoying passive that keeps him alive for a bit, but I just don't like his kit. I don't think it's worth it. I don't think it feels very legendary. 4-turn cooldown on this ability too. I give him a D. I would love to see a buff to him. Morrigan. Love me some Morrigan though. Speed in all battles. She was so clutch for me against Archon, the Cursed City boss, because of the heal reduction at the start of each turn. And it's a protected debuff. It's a very, very good heal reduction, the best in the game, I think. She also has turn meter fill, increased speed. She's got like a speed booster type kit, Lysandra-esque type kit, right? She's stealing all buffs from a target enemy. True fear on all enemies, which is very good for the arena as well. Decreased speed on the A1. Very good against bosses. 70% chance of landing that decreased speed. 75 with sniper mastery. I love Morrigan. I think she's an A. Scartorsis has an AoE on the A1, an AoE on the A3. Is there an attack somewhere in here? I guess not. I thought he attacked here too. Scartorsis is a weird one. He's very fast, nice and tanky. Speed in dungeons by 33%. I just, not a bad kit. Long cooldown. Chance of stealing a random buff. I don't know. I've always liked but never loved Scartorsis. I think quintessential B champion, in my opinion. Good in the stun set as well. Some viability there for sure. Battle Khazar. Phew. The Malice. I love the Malice, man. Malice in the Palace. Great 30 for 30 documentary, by the way, on that brawl, the Pistons brawl, like way back in the day. Anyway. Cleanse with 2 continuous heals and 2 poisons, man, it's still one of the stronger abilities out there in the game. It does so much on one ability. Great in Relentless, great in a Reflex, got a little heal on the A1, and then the more damage against targets under poison. Still great for Dragon or anywhere else. Ice Golem can solo a ton of content as well. I give Battle Khazar an A+. Blood Gorged. Blood Gorge was the #1 answer when I asked the developers at Plarium who the most underrated champion in the game was. I think 3 of the game designers said Blood Gorged, interestingly enough. That being said, I give him a B. Put one of these target skills on cooldowns on a hard-hitting AoE is really nice. And he's the 3rd champion with 100% ignore defense ability. Also a block revival. Decapitate is one of the most annoying and hard-hitting abilities in the game. With the block revive, he's definitely a threat, albeit, he's pretty basic, I guess, in some ways. Basic in a good way too, though, So that's Blood Gorged. B. Ultimate Death Knight. I don't know how you guys are going to feel about this, but I think he's S tier, and I don't even think it's close. I think he's like almost downvoted because of his popularity and because of how many people hate him. But he's got, you know what he does, right? You all know what he does. He's the essential solo champion for progression players because of Didn't Need him. and arena champion for everybody because of Too Awesome to Die, right? He's so popular in the arena in a slow build Stone Skin set, and he's just such a tanky beast of a champion. I think he's S tier. Mashald. Talk about buffs. We talked about Dracomorph earlier, and we talked about Canderfawn, talked about Vergamcar. He got a massive buff too, Mashald. Increased speed, increased crit damage, true fear and leech on all enemies, all with an extra turn to mechanic. That's insane. He has AoE potential on enemies under leech, which is usually the case on the A1. I think he's A tier for Hydra. I think he is, he steals all buffs too, with nice to have in your back pocket if you need it. On open wounds, can deal some damage here too. I think he's A tier for Hydra. He is just S tier for progression. I think overall A+. Nethril, oh man. Champion that needs a buff. I really love Nethril. I really do. Triple hitter with poison on the A1. AoE with stun. Really good ability. 75% chance on a 4-turn cooldown. And then AoE with turn meter decreased by 75%. I would love to see one of two things to buff Nethril. He's way too slow at 94. He feels like he should be like a 103, 104 speed champion. I would love to see a 10 speed on him. That would change everything, you know? The other thing they could do is just reduce one of these cooldowns to a 4-turn down to 3, you know? Other than that, though, he's really solid. I'm going to give him a B+ just because it's hard not to hold these things that just been power crept over the years against him a little bit. You know, he's definitely, his overall use has definitely gone down over the years, you know, for good reason, but still a very cool champion. Suzerain Catan. Now, this dude has an AoE on every ability. AoE decreased speed, AoE with a weaken, chance at decreased defense on a 4-turn cooldown, and an AoE over here as well. He can deal some decent damage, not out of this world damage. 3 AoEs is always attractive for various reasons, you know, just for control reasons. Good for Hydra. But for a dude who has 3 AoEs, you'd think he'd do a little bit more damage for an attack-based champion with 15 to 64 base attack. Not really the case. I'll give him a B. Harvest Jack. A boatload of HP, good for a stun set. He's a good niche disruptor, and I love the aesthetic on this dude. He's the pumpkin. He's the jack-o'-lantern, man. It's Harvest Jack. I love it. AoE block buffs. Targets under fear, remove increase, place a decrease attack, remove continuous heals, put a poison. He's got an AoE true fear on a 4-turn cooldown. He's a decreased speed. It decreases the target's turn meter if the true fear is placed. He has a sleep if the true fear is not placed. I don't know how I feel about the sleep if not placed part of it, but, you know, it does work sometimes. You know, you get a double chance against weak affinities to put another debuff on them. He's a really cool and annoying champion to go against in the arena, but he doesn't really excel anywhere, you know? I love this dude, but it's hard for me to rank him really high. I'll give him a B, you know? Definitely can have some fun with him, right? City of the Lost Bride, S+. I mean, even after the nerf to Whirlwind Romance a couple years ago, it used to be a 3-turn cooldown, by the way, when booked. Now it's a 4, but it's still very good. You get turn meter fill, block debuffs, increased defense, increased speed. What more do you want? You got a single revive with a full turn meter. You got the heal every turn. You got the cleanses off of Rhodos. A chance on everybody else. You got the sleep on the A1. She's really the best control champion in the arena with the irresistible sleep. It's so profoundly strong. She has one of the highest win rates in live arena in the game. Her base stats are nasty, one of the fastest champions in the game. She still got it, S+. Necrot the Great, I'm gonna give him S tier. You know, even if he's not as popular as like a Siphi in the end game, in live arena, like he's popular in the end game, but he's not super meta anymore in the end game. That being said, he's still one of the best arena champions in the game, right? You can protect your nuker with, I'm not going to read his whole kit, but you know, you guys are familiar with it probably. If you're not, I mean, in a way, I want to talk about outside the arena on Necrot the Great, right? He's a protector, he's an ally attacker, he's got an irresistible decrease attack on his A1. He's got shields everywhere. So good in the arena, S tier in the arena, but he's also S tier like for progression anywhere, you know, except for Spider, I guess, right? But like very good. if you're having trouble with like any area in the game, I feel like you just put Necra in and you just beat it, you know? Euro Soul Cage, I'm huge on him too. I'm gonna give him an A+. He's got an AoE, he's got turn meter decrease, he's got decreased speed, and a stun if they're under 3 or more poisons. He brings poisons up the wazoo on his passive. It allows him to be able to solo so many different Doom Tower bosses, including Scarab King, which I use him for, right? Just off the passive, you can throw him in regen and immortal. He's got a ton of HP, and he's got Strengthen and Ally Protect. The Korrigar Death Bell, 75% damage mitigation on a 3-turn cooldown. Oof. Control, damage mitigation, and he's a sneaky provoker. I tell a story that one time in the arena, somebody in Live Arena 3, Gold 3 or something, it was high, they drafted him, and I'm like, why are they drafting Euros of Soul Cage? And dude, he had me on Lockdown Provoke. Whenever an ally is attacked under a Strengthen buff, has a 75% chance of placing a Provoke on the attacker for 1 turn. They were all under Strengthen. My whole team was just constantly provoked. On top of everything else, man, he's really good. I'm tempted to give him S tier, but I'm gonna go A+.
Thank God he didn't notice today.
I won't try to get my personal biases affect it too much. Little Miss Annie, I love the aesthetics. She has perfect play date that hits so hard, guys. So hard. Just one of the best abilities out there in the game, man. It's single targets. That being said, you know, in this meta, she's best served in Fire Knight with a triple hitter and heal reduction, really. You see way more of her in Fire Knight than you do in Arena nowadays. It's a shame, too, because I think she's such a cool-looking champion and aesthetically so freaky. I really love LMA, but I think the LMA is probably like a B+ or B. Vlad. One of the most underrated Void champions in the game, in my opinion. An AoE leech, stealing turn meter. You can basically get back-to-back turns with this AoE on the A3, on A2. And then on the A3, he's a companion champion, of course, to Constantine. But on the A3, they buffed the hell out of this ability, guys. It's now an AoE, decreased defense, and block active skills for 2 turns with a perfect veil on himself. First of all, just block active skills in this game. Nobody has it on a 3-turn. It's always a 4-turn. Karato, Lugan the Steadfast, everybody, you know, Phenax. But he's got it on a 3-turn with decreased defense with a perfect veil. Dude, very good. I give Vlad an A. Valkanin. Oof. Well, spoiler alert, in case you missed my nuke off video, guys, Valkanin won it. He won my Void nuke off video. He had the hardest hitting nuke in the game. Granted, you know, I compared 4 nukers, so this is not definitive, but this Death's Bargain, or excuse me, this Malice Unleashed is deny revival, stealing all the buffs from the target, can't be resisted. It's insane. Steal stone skin, whatever. And it's so hard hitting. This guy, I would need 100 years to read this entire kit to you guys. He's got a lot going on. I will also say that this Hex of Blades, an AoE that deals damage to each target individually rather than AoE damage, that can mitigate Blastproof, that can mitigate Duchess, for example. It hits very hard too. With a Hex, it's really good, right? He's a really good champion. I'm going to give him an A+, tempted to even go higher on him. All right, let me take a quick little break for work, and I'll be right back. All right, and we're back and heading to the Dark Elves. So, Dark Elves, we have Ray up first. Ray, the old school AoE nuker, right? She's got an AoE on the A1, an AoE on the A2, and that's right, an AoE on the A3 as well. AoE with freeze, AoE with extra damage against targets with buffs, and an AoE with decreased defense on the A1, albeit a 50% land rate, but hey, it's an A1. Ray is still tremendously useful, right? In so much content. She can be a mid-game arena nuker. She can be a great control champion in a stun set. She already has the built-in freeze anyway. She can just be a great damage dealer, especially in even PvE environments. She can be a great blender comp champion as well. You run an ally attacker, Lady Mikage, a Farrakhan the Fat, etc. alongside her, and you're looking really good, right? So she also brings speed in dungeons by 33%. 50%, which is a really good and underrated aura. She doesn't hit the hardest in the game, but you add the 3 AoEs together, she's amazing. All right, we'll give Ray a B+. A-, somewhere in that territory. Lanicus the Chosen, another ally attacker. We could run her with Lanicus the Chosen. Lanicus has an increased crit rate, increased attack on all allies, and then the chance of an extra turn, which can screw you up, especially in Clan Boss. She is a Clan Boss ally attacker. Why? Because of the A2. She has a very unique A2 ability in her ally attack. She teams up with 3 random allies to attack a single enemy, and the allies are going to use their default skill, blah, blah, blah. But we also fill the turn meter and increase the duration of all ally buffs. A very unique ally attack ability, which makes her, really good. She's also very fast. 108 base speed for an ally attacker is very, very nice as well. So Lanicus, I will give her a B+. The cool thing about ally attackers in this game is everybody brings something a little bit unique to the table, I feel, and she certainly does that as well. Foley, great nuker. He's going to deny revival on the Sealed Fate ability, attack all enemies, decrease their turn meter by 15%, and then it attacks the targeted enemy in addition to that, and again, deny revival. It's very annoying, very good. He has a quad hitter with a leech and a quad hitter with a decreased defense, an exceptionally good Fire Knight champion. I run him on my Fire Knight hard main team. It's really nice because he has 2 quad hits to help get that shield down, and he has Sealed Fate to just breeze through those nice damage, so to speak, to breeze through those waves too. And even though he doesn't have freeze or anything like that, again, I do use him on my Fire Knight hard main team. Living Armor is so annoying because someone tries to put a stun, freeze, sleep, or provoke, it instantly removes it and then boosts his turn meter by 50%. It allows him to cut in line when like a Kaimara tries to, CC him in the arena. So very good there as well. I'll give Foley an A-. Noct the Paralyzer is another poison HP-based champion. He was added around the same time as like a Corvus the Corruptor, right? He has a decreased accuracy on the A1. He has an AoE with a sleep and 2 poisons on the A2 with 2 additional poisons after, the sleep is removed or expires or disappears or whatever. He also has an ally protection and a continuous heal on a 3-turn cooldown. So now we have good support, good damage, some decent control, some hard to get debuffs and the decreased accuracy, right? And then we have a heal. So heals his champion by 3% of his max HP and all allies by 1% of this champion's max HP every time a poison debuff ticks on an enemy. We also have some more sleep synergy. Very good and underrated support and damage dealer. I will give Noct the Paralyzer a. Truoth. I mentioned Truoth earlier. Some of you are probably like, who is Truoth after I mentioned it? But this, I think, is a top 3 healer in the game. I mentioned him along with Wither and with Marichka. I'm sure there's others in the conversation as well, certainly. But talk about heals. I mean, look no further than Truoth. Heals this champion 5% of max HP on the A1. Attacks all enemies, perfect veil on all allies on a 4-turn cooldown, and then a counterattack buff and a strengthen buff on this champion for 2 turns. So you're saying right now, where's all the heals, Ash? Top 3, doesn't sound like it. Aminous Infusion. This is where the heals are at with the passive. Heals a target ally by 20% of this champion's max HP, then balances the HP of all allies. Same thing we talked about earlier, one of the best heals in the game. Sinisha has one as well. After balancing, ally protect on the initial target for 2 turns, but it all comes together with the passive, because this in itself is not that crazy. It's a 4-turn cooldown after all, right? Vassal of the Seal had it on an extra turn on a 4-turn cooldown, right? But decreases the cooldown of the Animus Infusion, the heal, by 1 turn for every 10% of HP this champion loses. So you're just basically, as long as he's being attacked, right, by an AoE or whatever, you're just bringing this right back down to off cooldown. The best AoE heal arguably in the game, right? It's really powerful. He's, not the most versatile. I guess it is versatile if you need a healer, right? Anyway, I think Truoth is an A-, like just pretty one-dimensional, but very good, like a jacked up version of Operatin, different, but you know what I'm saying, like, you know, just a healer. Xavia, we talked about Xavia and we talked about Eleanor. She's really good in her own right. She has an AoE times 2 with poisons on each hit. Deadly Catalyst is the instant activation. It is mitigated against bosses, half damage, but there is a deny revival on this ability as well, which can come in handy. She's the Bellinor partner. I rank her a little bit lower than Eleanor personally. Some people prefer Xavia, some people prefer Eleanor. I prefer Eleanor. Either way though, very good. I'll give her a B+. Marinix. She's a very interesting champion. She reminds me of Thylesia, only a legendary version. Damage is similar-ish, maybe a little bit better. She has an AoE Hex and decreased defense on the A2. And then she has an AoE Ignore Unkillable and Shields. She doesn't deal as much damage as I expected her to, honestly. That's kind of the only knock on her, you know? I was hoping for a bit more. She was a fusion or a fragment summon at some point in the past. I didn't go for her, pulled her after the fact. And I was kind of let down a little bit, you know. She's not a bad champion, but I think my expectations were a bit higher on her, you know. So either way, great Hex and debuffer, great debuffer, right? S tier debuffer. Other than that, though, you know, I'll say she's like a B+. Vizier Ovelis. Vizier is, you know, he's an old school champ. He's still got that nasty A1 triple hitter. Every single hit has a 50% chance of increasing the duration of all debuffs by 1 turn. Still exceptional for clan boss, a little bit more niche now with Unkillable being so popular, block damage. Has a buff spread with decreased attack and heal reduction. I was using Vizier somewhere in Curse City with great effect. Like, he was crucial to my team. I just forgot which boss it was, or double boss or whatever. Has a debuff spread as well, perfect veil as well. He's a very tough one to grade, but definitely has some utility, but has fallen way out of favor. He was one of the most wanted champions by like everybody when I started playing this game, you know? Has fallen way out of favor, but yeah, overall, I'm still a fan. I would say a B-. Chromax Moonblood, F. I really hate Chromax Moonblood. This is one of the later Doom Tower hard champions, so not worth it. Block buffs. Okay, attacks one enemy, places at block buffs with a turn meter fill on this champion. Okay, that's crap. And then we have an AoE provoke and decrease accuracy on a 4-turn cooldown. That's it. You know, when attacked, has a hex on the attacker, a chance of hex on the attacker. Not a bad passive, to be fair. But man, oh man, oh man, oh man. Just one of the worst, I think. And look at this. F. Astrolith. You know what? Bomb teams right now are not super meta in the game, but I will say that the top bomb team in the game right now, in the end game, all is centered around Astrolith. She's the bomb champion. So her kit is actually really good. She has, first of all, speed in arena by 28%, great speed lead. She has a very good A1, attacks one enemy, fills a turn meter of a random ally by 15%, fills a turn meter of all allies by a further 15% if the attack is critical. So everybody gets a turn meter fill, kind of like Lugan the Steadfast A1, very, very good for an A1 ability. And then we have Heart Rot. It places 2 bombs, detonate after 1 turn, can't be resisted. What more do you want? It's a 1-turn detonation, which is ideal, obviously, for the arena, and it can't be resisted, and there's 2 of them, you know? And then Judgment. Exchanges HP levels, then attacks with default skill, cannot be used on a boss. So attacking with the default skill obviously is going to get us more turn meter fill too off the A3, and then gains an extra turn, decreases the cooldown of this skill by 3 turns if this champion's HP drops below 20% when attacked. So you put it all together and you have the most meta bomber right now in the game. I'm talking top plat players use Astrolith. I'll give her she's hard to, I'm saying this about everybody. Good against Bommel too, I should say, right? Irresistible bomb, absolutely. I'll give Astrolith a surprising B+. Queen Ava, very polarizing champion, Queen Ava. Some people hate her, some people love her. Either way, I do think she needs a buff, personally. She has an AoE, Deny Revive on the A2, my bad. An AoE that can reset cooldown if somebody's killed, making her one of the better campaign farmers in the game. However, I will say that she doesn't hit very hard, you know? And that's the big knock on her, especially with the Ancient Curse ability. So I think she needs a damage buff. You know, that base attack, you'd think she hit like a truck, you know, and that's going to be common feedback, as you can tell from this video. I will give her a C-. Ghostborn. Ghostborn is very good. He's got a very unique ability, decreased defense that cannot be resisted. I think still the only decreased defense that can't be resisted on an AoE in the game. The downside is it is a 4-turn cooldown. The upside is, again, can't be resisted. And increased attack on all allies on the same ability. Also has a really nice A2. This allows you to, unless you really want to land the heal reduction, it allows you to build him, the fact that it can't be resisted, with no accuracy if you want to, you know? Basically, you can take advantage of the 12-11 base attack on a support champion and build him for damage because he has 2 AoE attacks in his kit too. Also a decreased defense on the A1, which is 100% land rate when booked. That does require accuracy though, so just keep that in mind. But either way, just a very unique champion that can deal some damage. Damage bases scales off speed too, which is unique. Not the only champion in the game, but it's definitely unique. Rule the Huntmaster. So I would give Ghostborn an A-. Rule the Huntmaster. Every champion they release in this game with Hex, he gets even better. You know, the one thing about Rule the Huntmaster is he hits very hard. Very squishy, 13k base HP, but extra hit on enemies under Hex. He's got increased accuracy on everybody, and then places Hex on all enemies. Perfect Veil on himself. Fills his champion's turn meter by 50%, which mitigates the 4-turn cooldown, which is great. But really, it's his passive, March Quarry. Decreases speed of enemies under Hex by 5%. Decreases resistance of those enemies by 10%. Damage enemies under Hex receive by 10%. Decreases their heals by 30%. Very, very strong passive. He still hasn't found his niche in the game in terms of like a main meta team anywhere that I'm aware of in the game outside of faction wars, you know. That being said, he's got a lot of potential and a lot of damage and a cool kit. It's nice that he has the increased accuracy and stuff, right? And the perfect veil, like it's just a really cool champion. I'm gonna give him a B for now, but he could get better in time. Altan of the Shell, F. I hate Altan of the Shell. I think this champion is absolute trash. He's the Oella's companion champion. Decent with Oella, I guess. But, I mean, listen, he's a very selfish champion. He's removing only his debuffs. He's putting a shield on only him. He is, you know, an AoE sleep. Yay. Yippee. On a 4-turn cooldown. He's supposed to deal like a lot of... He's an attack-based champion. Decent amount of attack. He's supposed to deal a ton of damage on this ability, you know. It's not that great. It's decent. I've seen it do some nice damage under the perfect circumstances. But God, we're investing in this guy for, you know, a sometimes hard-hitting single attack ability and a mediocre AoE? No way. I give him an F. Blind Seer. One of the fastest revivers in the game, even beating out Sify with 115 base speed. She is the empowerment champion for... somebody good. Lydia or Mithrala? One of the two, I think. Mithrala, is it? Anyway, somebody. I know because I've sacked a Blind Seer into her. But anyway, I think she needs a buff. She has a really good A1. Each has a 30% chance to make it a 40 of it decreasing the turn meter by 15%. This is really nice. It is random, but it is what it is. It's a triple hitter. She has a good A2. A block debuff for 2 turns and a shield based on her max HP, which doesn't scale that well. I wish she was a little bit tankier too. I really wish a lot about Blind Seer, but it's not because she's not good. It's because I feel like she's like one buff away from being really good, or how good a Void Legendary ought to be. Her revive sucks. It's a 5-turn, not a 4-turn, which is the standard on AoE revives nowadays. And 35% HP with no turn meter and a measly block damage buff for 1 turn is not good. Very bad revive. It feels like an epic revive. It feels like a Gorgorab type revive. Nothing against Gorgorab. It's a bad revive. Increased defense in all battles by 34%. Great. The best all battle defensive aura, or second now in the game. Very good. So it's a mixed bag with Blind Seer. I'll give her a B+. Lydia, S tier. I mean, you guys already know that I think she has one of the best abilities inside the entire game, with an AoE, weaken, decreased defense, strengthen, and increased speed. All big versions, all on a 3-turn cooldown. Yeah. She's got a great A1. She's got a great A3 with a lockout potential and poison sensitivity, excuse me. And then she has the deny enemy revive attempts. Very unique, obviously passive. It's a game changer. You can deny revive attempts on Frostbiter. You can deny revive attempts on boss minions like Ice Golem. And of course, you can use it to great effect in the arena. She also has the best arena resistance aura in the game by 100. So S tier, S+. Vizix, the Unbowed. We talked about her earlier, you know, kind of compared her maybe unfairly to Countess Lix. Much better. 3-turn cooldown, AoE decreased speed. She got an ally protect on the same ability. She has turn meter control on the A1. She has an AoE provoke on a 3-turn cooldown. She has a shield on herself as well. The only knock against her is her base HP. For someone who's taking that much damage, she can be very tough to keep alive. Because she's taking not only all the provoke damage, because she's provoking everybody, obviously, but she's also taking all the ally protection damage on a 3-turn, both on a 3-turn. So with that base HP, she can be tricky to keep alive, but I'm really, you know, I think she's an A+ of a champion. She's one of the better progression champions in the game, which is fantastic. The fact that she's Void Affinity too, you don't have to worry about weak hits or anything like that. She got a massive buff a couple years back, and it was so well deserved. And it's so important too, because not only is she so, you know, good for all the reasons that we spoke about, but you get her at a time where everybody, unlike Doom Tower champions or whatever, unlike Maud, you get her at a time where you really can use this skill set, you know? So Mithrala, S tier. Back to back to back here. Vizix, Lydia, and Mithrala, all accessible champions and all some of the best in the game, particularly Mithrala. Well, I don't want to point her out, but she's one of my faves. She got the Hex, which is so strong right now in the game. So, I would say, imperative to Hydra Clan Boss specifically, but useful everywhere. And then the Hex synergy with her passive with Petrification is so good in the arena. The fact that her resistance is equal to or additive to her accuracy is so amazing in the arena. And then she has increased defense, increased attack. She has a big version of Strengthen. She has a Cleanse. She has a beefy shield based on her HP that scales well. She has accuracy in all battles by 80. She's so good. And I barely even touched on half the stuff she does, you know? S+, one of my favorite champions in the game. Tremaria. Oh, God. Tremaria or Ramaria. Someone told me that you don't pronounce the T, Ash. It's Ramaria. Ramaria. Ramaria? Tremaria sounds better to me.
You know what? You can do whatever you want to do.
Ramaria, though, is a support who feels like she's one buff away from being very good. I think she's a kind of a letdown, personally. An AoE decreased speed on the A1. Small chance of fear. And then we have an AoE stun, which is great on a 4-turn. After attacking, decreased turn meter. So again, great control out of the A1 and the A2. And then a cleanse here on the A3 with some turn meter fill as well. She's immune to sleep, and she gets a turn meter fill whenever an enemy tries to place those on her. The other CC debuffs. Man, if she was immune to True Fear, or Fear and True Fear, it would be a whole different ball game. She'd be great in Hydra. She's already decent in Hydra. Only problem is, this kit screams Hydra Clan Boss. But what do we want with a stun against Hydra Clan Boss? Her A2 makes no sense, you know? It's just a weird kit because on paper it's great, but when it really comes down to it, she's relegated for a lot of accounts, especially the endgame accounts, to kind of a control champion against wave content or Curse City content if she's not restricted, you know? It's a shame because her kit, it's really close to being good. Her base stats are good, but I would give her a B-. I would love to see a buff to her. Maybe I'm being too harsh. You guys let me know. Supreme Kale. Another tough one to judge here. AoE on the A1, AoE on the A2, AoE on the A3. Nothing, you don't need accuracy. Nothing can be resisted. Okay, he brings an increased accuracy. He's got a decreased resist that can't be resisted. He's got a poison that can't be resisted. He's got increased the duration of all debuffs that can't be resisted. He's got an AoE weaken that can't be resisted. So nice, right? The thing is on him though is that none of this stuff I look at as it screams Hydra again, but I don't see him on any top Hydra teams at all, ever. Not unlike Ultimate Galek. He doesn't have like an instant activation or something that can really ramp up his damage potential or his debuff potential, you know? He has a chance of placing Weaken. He's bringing poisons, and he's got decreased resistance, you know? It's a really good kit, and I love it doesn't require accuracy, but it's just not there to make him meta anywhere. That doesn't mean a champion has to be meta to be good. Overall, though, I'll give him a B. You know, I wish I could give him higher. It just, you know, it's not there. Oh, good. Fatalis Blade Master. The only Blade Master that I actually didn't get on my account. So I am not speaking from direct experience, but as you can see from the reviews, people, or the ratings, people are not a fan of this dude at all. He's an HP-based champion. He's got a lot of HP. He's pretty fast. He looks really cool. He ignores strength and stone skin, increased defense, ally protect, the whole nine. Attacks all enemies, ignores percentage of defense. He's got the ignore 50% defense, turn meter fill, secret skill, blah, 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 blah. The only problem is, again, from what I hear, just damage. You know, it's going to be a reoccurring theme here. We're already hours into the video. You guys get the point. It's just, it's like Allele again. It's just, for an ability like this, you would think, okay, this is going to be this guy is going to be able to smack, you know, and he's going to be tanky. He's an HP-based champion. It's just sadly not the case. Sadly not the case. So I will give him, with no first-hand experience on this champion. Again, I want to be transparent when I don't have a champion. He's the only one I don't have here in Dark Elves, but I would give him a C+. Nice rev. All right, Narma. Oof, I'm down on Narma too. Sorry, guys. I know I've been down on Narma in the past, and you guys have really let me have it. Some of you guys really do like her, and I can see the appeal if you want to run an old school poison sensitivity clan boss team. She has increased the duration of 3 random debuffs on the target by 1 turn. Not quite a Vizier Ovelis, but still a nice A1. You put it all together, and I just don't think she has a space or a place, excuse me, in the meta. I give her a C-. You know, I think she needs a buff. Gaius the Gleeful. We talked about Gaius quite a bit already when we talk about other bomb champions. He's probably the best AoE bomber. Second best. I would put him number 3 behind Nishak and behind Astrolith. Or if you want to just talk about AoE, number 2. Anyway, he's got a sleep, which is very nice, and a bomb that detonates after 2 turns on a 3-turn cooldown. It's a good opening move. It's definitely the best opening AoE bomb move in the game for the arena. And then he has instant detonation on the A3, also ignoring unkillable, which is nice. He has an extra turn, which is a pretty hard hitting A1 as well. He has nice base attack, which we want. His bomb multipliers are good. And he has instantly detonates bombs on all enemies whenever he's killed. I'm going to give him a B+. Really solid bomb champion, you know. Shemnath, the Statue of Liberty. I love Shemnath. I don't know why. I just really love the design on Shemnath. She really hasn't found her spot in the meta, I want to say, but I really like the kit. We remove all buffs, and the second hit ignores 20% of the target's defense against targets that have no buffs, right? So on a 3-turn cooldown, the animation on this is just sick. It's just like a staff, boom, and it like kind of pulls like a Gandalf type move with his staff. Very, very cool. I just love her so much aesthetically. Or him? Have we had this conversation before? Her. Anyway, I think she's really cool. A2 is really cool. Transfers debuffs and increases duration and all this stuff, right? Hits pretty hard. Not the hardest, but then again, hopefully removing all their buffs ahead of time. Outside the arena, though, in Faction Wars, in some niche situations, hasn't really found a spot in the meta at all. I'll give her a B+. Eric's. Oh, love me some Eric's. A hard-hitting AoE on the A1, removing a buff. Super hard-hitting. Second strongest HP-based legendary, nuker-wise, damage-wise in the game after Taurus. I would probably put like Deliana number 3 there, too. Not that anybody asked. But an AoE with a stun. Transfers a random debuff from the champion. The targets receive the stun. Great ability here. 3-turn cooldown, 75% stun. And then the ally protection and the counterattack, leading into more hard-hitting A1s. Also, a really annoying and fun passive where she's getting heals and turn meter fill all the time. Tough to deal with, right? With very tanky. I really love Eric's, you know, great in a stun set too. So a lot of utility, you know, on Eric's. I'll give her an A. Ooh, it's White Queen Ankara. She's an active fusion at the time, or Fragment Summit at the time of this recording, so I do not have her, and I have not played her. I'll say off the bat, Really good base stats. So what does she do? She attacks, well, I'm not even going to read the entire king synergy. It's a king and queen tandem, as you guys are probably already aware. On the shield of Imaria, removes all debuffs from all allies, and then places a shield on them equal 25% of the champion's max HP for 2 turns, which scales really well. And then fills the turn meter of all allies by 10%. Gets a strengthen if on the same team as the king. And then we have a revive. Dead ally, 75% turn meter, 50% HP. Resets the cooldown of the revive's ally skills. So this is a Godseeker Aniri on a 3-turn cooldown rise, my love. Very, very exceptionally good revival here. And then passive. Well, you guys can read the passive, but pretty dang good, like stealing CC debuffs with turn meter and removal. I don't know. I mean, I haven't played her. You know, full transparency, I do not have her, as you guys can see. But I don't know why the reviews are so down on her out the gate. I would actually have put her in A. I think it's a very, very good kit. Bystophis, one of the highest attacks in the game, and he hits like the wet noodle that he is. And what is this design anyway? It's a weird kind of teal design. I've always thought it didn't fit the aesthetic of the game at all. What do you guys feel about that? Anyway, AoE block active skills, AoE block active skills. A little redundant there. The same ability twice. No, I'm just joking. It's inflicted critical hit against targets under a block active skills on the A2, so it's like the setup. A3 going into the A2. It's unnecessary. It's going to be built with crit rate anyway, and really crappy multipliers. Do not invest. I give Bystophis a D. Thea, the Tomb Angel, or Thea, the Tomb Angel. Heard it said both ways. She's the first Doom Tower hard champion that you get your hands on. Is she worth it? Well, she's gotten actually a really nice buff over the years. She got hexes on the A1. She's got each critical hit decreases the cooldown of Not of This World by 1 turn. Not of This World, yeah, it's not a great ability. It's just a perfect veil on herself. But you have the extra turn on a 4-turn cooldown, so this is going to feed into getting more extra turns. Ergo, it's a really nice kind of under the hood regeneration or motor or whatever you want to say of these skills. It's a really nice synergy how it all works. That being said, Hex Reaper is one of the hardest hitting non-enemy max HP abilities in the game. If you have the full benefit of the hexes, which is hard to pull off, to be fair, to get all of those, to get the full stack of hexes of 6. That being said, good nuker. She's never been my fave personally. I know a lot of you guys are fans. I think a B+ is a fair grade. Versalf the Grim. HP-based champion. He might be in like top 5, top 10 territory of HP-based nukers. Maybe top 5. An AoE with an extra hit on CC debuffs with a leech. And then has a great support with increased defense and ally protect. He was a fragment summon years ago in the game. He has HP in all battles by 33% as well. And he also has a provoke on the A1, which has come in handy for me in a few different times, as well as a shield. So overall, like a really, really robust kit. Has a chance of placing provoke on the attacker as well. I've rode Versalf the Grim pretty hard throughout the years, more recently in a few stages of Curse City. So I think Versalf is underrated personally, and I would give him a A-. Mother Cybele, the Red Lady. First of all, got to give her a high score off the bat for being one of the fastest champions in the game. 115 base speed. We said it with Blind Seer. That's one of the fastest out there. AoE with decreased speed on the A1 with a turn meter fill, which is great on the great A1 here. Great in a stun set if you wanted to. It can deal some sneaky damage. HP-based champion. She's not a damage dealer, but she can deal some decent damage over time, especially against like Hydra, right? Her A2 is Revive on Death and increased defense. Nice to have. It's not a game-breaking ability, but it's a really strong ability. And then I've never been a massive fan of Uncanny Transfer. Sometimes I don't use it that often, but she's swapping HP and kind of protecting along the way as well. And then we have a full, the heals the ally lowest HP when the champion's killed, and heals all allies by 20% of their max HP, and fills a turn meter when she's revived, which is really cool. She also has speed in all battles by 24%, which is excellent. Overall, I'll give her an A. I've always been a fan of Mother Cybele. Tomb Lord, A+. He's got 2 poisons on all enemies, but if it's critical, you get 4 poisons on all enemies on Death Burst. That's a lot of poisons. I run Tomb Lord on all my poison combust teams. Just really good. Triple hitter with decreased speed on the A1 as long as the attack is critical, which is a 100% chance of landing, provided, you know, affinities. Amazing for Fire Knight, one of the best Fire Knight champions in the game. And they actually buffed his A3. He's bringing decreased defense and decreased attack, and he has extra turn if the enemy's turn meter is decreased by the skill. Fantastic. It mitigates the 4-turn cooldown and decrease the turn meter of enemies with less than 50% HP by 100%. Jeez, man. He's so good. Accuracy in Jupiter battles by 70. Like I said, A+ on Tomb Lord for me. Theodore, A+ again. One of the... I mean, you could make a case he's S tier, really, you know, and I wouldn't really argue with you. AoE decreased speed, defense base, very tanky, brings an increased speed with 2 poisons and a poison sensitivity, and then activates poisons and burns on enemies and increases their duration at the same time. Just exceptionally good champion for speed running. Orders for dealing damage basically anywhere PvE in the game. A+. Calvalax, I don't have him. He still evades me, but I'm very familiar with this kit. He has a hard-hitting ability, single target ability that scales up for poison on the target. Excuse me, it scales up because you're getting up to 3 extra hits, kind of like a little mini version in different ways of Elder Skarg's A2. An AoE decrease damage increases according to the number of poison debuffs on the target. Again, it's great on Storm of Vitriol, but it's really about the passive. Pestilence, 4 poisons on all enemies for 2 turns at the start of each round. Also has a 50% chance of placing a poison debuff on all enemies for 1 turn at the start of each turn. And then he has a continuous heal on top of that. I mean, it's just an insane passive. It's the best setup for a poison combust team in the game. Speed in all battles by 19%. Yeah, A+. Walking Tombdrang. Another one of these heals we're going to talk about. The Equalize and then brought up to the ally with the highest HP. This guy, I give him an A+ as well. I'm so high on Walking Tombdrang. I've been saying this for a long time. His base stats are insane, really good base HP. He has an instant activation, of HP burn on his A1. This does not require accuracy to instantly activate, which is really important because neither does his A2. HP burn on a 3-turn cooldown that cannot be resisted. So you don't need accuracy at all in his kit. That's a massive, massive benefit. It's so great for Frostbiter or for Sand Devil. And you get the instant activation on top of placing the burn as well. And then great support anywhere. I use him as a support and damage dealer in Ice Golem Hard 10. I get a lot of usage out of my Walking Tombdrang. He has a reflect on his passive too. A+ for me. And look at the little fella on his back. Aww. Alatreon, Blade Master. I love that Alatreon name. I don't know, something about it. He's really good. I think he's the best Blade Master after Archer Queen, personally. I don't think it's that close. He has a increase the duration of 2 random buffs on each individual ally by 1 turn. Very good A1. Very good base stats. Very fast. An AoE increased defense and a shield on all allies. Protected. Everything's protected if it's a boss on this dude's whole kit. Then a cleanse and a block debuffs. And again, the block debuffs is protected against bosses. I really think that, and a great passive too, I really think that he's one of the top supports for PvE in the game. You know, speed and done is by 30% on top of that. I give him an A+. Solus. I think Solus is probably my 3rd favorite defense-based nuker after Harima and Staltis Dragonbane. I think way back like 8 hours ago, I was saying that Staltis was my number 1. I was forgetting about Harima. But either way, Solus is great. He received a great buff that they should do to champions like Nethril and champions like Razin, right? Where they bumped his speed. His speed was very low. I forgot what it was, but it was very low, like 89 or something. They buffed his speed. They buffed his defense. They adjusted his multipliers. Now he's getting AoE, increase the duration of all debuffs on each target, a provoke on all enemies, a shield on this champion, damage increases by 10% for each debuff on the target, and then he has a 3-time at random with removing buffs on the A2. He's doing so much control. Places a provoke as well. So much damage, so much control. I'll give him an A-. Hegemon. Hegemon. He's not really super popular, but he still gets the freaking job done. If you're trying to speed farm your Great Hall, there's still not many better options to put on your team than a Hegemon. I think sometimes we lose sight when we have such a narrow focus on the end game. We lose sight of the utility that some power crept or washed up champions like Hegemon still can bring to so many accounts out there. That being said, he always goys first, and he has a 50-50 shot at blocking active skills, and he does a lot of damage too. I give him a A-. Yeah, I give him an A-. Whirling Frost King suffers from bad base stats. I mean, they're not awful, but they're not great. He needs to be like this massive tank. He got a big buff too. He has strength and an increased defense on the same ability on a 3-turn cooldown. This is very good. He has an AoE with decreased accuracy and decreased crit damage that cannot be resisted. That's very good. He also brings increased crit damage on an AoE on our team, which doesn't seem to fit the rest of his kit, but we'll take it. It's cool. He has a freeze on the A1 and a perfect veil on the ally with the lowest HP as well. It reads really well. His base stats suck. He does have a great aura for Doom Tower, 40% defense. I've always been higher than your average cat on Whirling Frost King, but for whatever reason, he's just like one little thing away from being like super viable. I do love this ability specifically, the decreased accuracy for going against Bommel that can't be resisted. So he has some use cases for sure, anywhere in Doom Tower as well. I think he's a B+. I think he's a good support, just not great. Fortis after his buff. I've been actually had a chance to play a lot of Fortis after they buffed him this year in 2024. I'll tell you what, it's crazy because they buffed Astral Terrors, but I'm reminded of actually how hard Horrors Beyond hits his A2. There's definitely a noticeable difference in the damage you can get out of this guy. Is it going to make him meta? I still fear, no pun intended, because it's all about fear and true fear. I still fear that it's not. I'll give him a B now. A B. Jirigid the Breaker, or Georgid the Breaker. One of the best attack-based nukers in the game. Certainly when we talk about attack-based meta champions, he has a strong AoE. He can ignore Stone Skin, kill basically anybody, and get an extra turn with Deadly Ballet. Everything about this dude hits so hard because of the Crack Any Shell passive, where he has a potential plus Savage, plus Lethal, plus Helm Smasher to ignore 100% of defense. He and Rhodos and Leo, Candyman, Xena, these are the end game attack based nukers in the game. I'm sure I'm forgetting, a couple too. But he's up there. He's really up there. I give him, he's really a PvE nuker. He's pretty niche. Of course, you can use him to decrease turn meter and do damage pretty much anywhere. I'm not going to give him S tier just because I do feel like he's pretty limited to PvP for end game. That being said, though, he can still be a great wave, like an Ethos type wave killer or whatever. So I'll give him an A+, maybe an S tier. Who am I kidding? Caroline the Ringer. Oh man, this guy had a lot of promise, but it just isn't there. What do the reviews say? Yeah, pretty mediocre. He has an AoE with Hex and Weaken. Okay. He has a 3-turn if they're under freeze. And then he has a freeze on all enemies for 1 turn on a 3-turn cooldown. Depletes turn meter if enemies receive the freeze from this skill. Fills the champion's turn meter of all allies for each freeze debuff attempted by, blocked, or resisted by the enemy team. So, I mean, we were talking about Gurgo the Augur earlier, and I forgot what I gave him, a C or a B or something like that. But, I mean, this guy people are down on, and look at how much better his kit is compared to Gurgo the Augur, which is pretty crazy. He's ignoring defense. You think he'd hit a little bit harder. I think when people see this, they expected him to hit like a truck, but really he's a support champion, I'm sorry. Allies will ignore defense if targets under freeze. My bad on that. But either way, 20% if they're placed by him, which is good. But keep in mind, freeze already has the damage mitigator built into it, right? So, yeah, it sounds like 20% extra ignoring defense is great, and it is great, but we're already going against the freeze penalty as well. Anyway, you put that all together, speed and arena battles by 30. Supposed to be an arena champion, I guess, with that base speed too. Kind of a go first arena champion, I guess, is what we're looking at here. I would give him, I love that it's on a 3-turn cooldown though. That's very strong. I guess I'm not quite as down as these are. I would give him an A-. I think he actually has a pretty interesting kit, but disclaimer, I don't have him.
Open your piggy bank, baby.
The king It's White King Narcissus. Again, pretty mediocre reviews out the gate here. It's an HP-based champion with a lot of HP. Has a 30% chance to make it a 50 of increasing their cooldown of one of the target skills by 2 turns. Not bad. An AoE, ignoring 25% of the target's defense. An extra hit on enemies under shield or strengthen. Can be mitigated by passive skills, etc., etc. Attacks one enemy 2 times and increased damage with this skill by 10% for each buff on the target. So kind of like a go second nuker because he's on a HP. He's an HP base champ. He's very tanky. If attack kills a target under 3 or more buffs with a block revive. I love block revive. Receiving less damage by enemies, including bosses and their minions, out of their active turn. Okay. I don't know, guys. I don't know. This champion's skills will also ignore shield and strengthen. I need to play him. I need to play. I don't want to judge a book by its proverbial cover. He looks pretty cool. I love Knight's Revenant. You guys who've been watching for a long time know it's my favorite faction in the game. So I'm biased inherently. But just based on the kit, I don't think he's a Taurus. But I think, oh, this is not an AoE too. Oh. Yeah, I'm going to give him like a B. I feel like he desperately needs... Well, he has an AoE here. It depends on how hard this hits, doesn't it, guys? Doesn't it? With the extra hit, it could be massive. I don't know. It's going to be a B plus A minus TBD on this champion. Sorry for hemming and hawing so much there. Dwarf time! Trunda. I've said this before. A lot of people say Trunda's been power crept because when I started playing this game, everybody was running Trunda in the arena with no accuracy, landing a double hit on the A3. Can also be used like against Spider with the stun synergy, the HP burn synergy on the A3. We think about her in the arena. We think about Forge Rhythm, double hit, really hard, crazy. We think about her right now, nowadays. We think about Cloak of Ages and how ridiculous amounts of damage it does against Hydra Clan Boss, right? We're talking tens of millions of damage. Because of her resurgence in Hydra Clan Boss, you know, I'm going to give her an A+. You could argue S tier. You know, it's just hard to rank her. But the cool thing about Trunda is even outside of all that, she has stun on the A1, blah, blah, blah. Even outside of all that damage, she's so freaking tanky. Like an attack-based, one of the best attack-based nukers in the game, especially in Hydra, PvE, and I guess without Stone Skin and PvP as well, right? With 22k HP is just insane. It's really strong, you know? So I'll give her A+. Underpriest Brogni, he has the shield and he has the grow shield, but he has block debuffs. He has increased attack as well on a 3-turn cooldown for 2 turns. He's on, you know, I mean, what can I say about Brogni? He has a burn on the A1. He's just one of the better support champions and the most unique support champions in the game with the grow shield ability, right? He's also removing a debuff from allies. He's removing a buff from enemies. He does a lot. I give him I don't know, S tier, A+. You know, I don't think he's like the best champion in the game, but he's definitely, I would definitely say he's top 50, probably even better. Very, very good. I think that rather than worrying about the rating, he's a beast, you know, S tier. Herndig. Man, Herndig's really cool. He can deal a lot of damage. He has decreased defense and decreased accuracy as well on a 3-turn cooldown. But then he fully depletes target's turn meter with a stasis strike that attacks all enemies if the attack is critical. The AoE has the weaken. So he has weaken and the decreased defense as well. Also fills his champion's turn meter by 10% each time they're hit. Occurs once per hit. Fills his champion's turn meter by 20% whenever an ally dies. Really nice kit. Really cool. I'll give him an A+. Herndig has really grown on me a lot. Speaking of someone who's grown on me a lot, actually Gosfrey Brassclad has as well. I don't think he's the best, you know, defense-based champion in the game, but he's unique enough that he gets a lot of play. Like, he gets a decent amount of play. He has such a basic kit, I feel like. He has a decreased defense and a provoke chance on the A1. He has an AoE stun, 100% on a 3-turn cooldown, just super basic. Just an AoE stun on a 3-turn. Very good. And then he has an increased defense on all allies. That's it. Now, granted, he does remove decreased defense and weaken, which is nice, albeit, you know, most of the time doesn't matter, you know? But when you need it, it's great to have, right? It's nice. A defense-based damage dealer / control who brings increased defense for the whole team as well is unique, you know? You know, you can only say that about like Brogni and maybe like one other. A lot of defense-based nukers like Staltus bring their own increased defense, but not many bring it for everybody. But it's a passive that really makes him incredibly useful and worth taking a look at. Let's read the active effect first. If an ally is about to get killed by a fatal hit, it blocks that incoming damage and places a block damage on them for 1 turn. And then the passive, whenever an ally is attacked under that block damage placed by this champion, 100% chance to place a stun on the attacker. So really, really good synergy, and really Brass Clad is the highlight along with a 3-turn stun of his kit. You put it all together and you're looking at a really good champion. I think he's an A tier champion. Mountain King. Never been a fan of Mountain King. I know that's sacrilege to say. There's a lot of people out there who love Mountain King. I think he's just so one-dimensional. He's a tanky dude who hits hard on single target hitters. You know, there's really a lot to say about him. He's really relegated, to more of a PvP champion. Can be great in a bolster set or something like that, but he's just never done it for me. He's too one-dimensional for my liking. And he's also the slowest legendary in the game at 85 speed. I don't know. He's a tank and a half. I get it. I get the appeal on this guy, and he looks so cool. But I'm going to give him a C-. I would love to see a buff to Mountain King. Beauregard the Elder, we talked about him way back when we were talking about, what's his face, from the Barbarians. Now it's bothering me. But what the heck is his name? It's right on the tip of my tongue. Anyway, remove a buff, place a shield on allies. Okay, he's got a decent shield. Removing a random buff, increase resistance, increase speed in the 4-turn. I don't know. It doesn't do it for me. It doesn't. I've tried to like this guy for a long time. He and the other guy who I can't think of his name were the first two champions to have an AoE increased resistance added to the game. So at the time, it was really cool. Raj, 4-turn cooldown, increased speed, increased resistance, a little bit better than Raf Matab. There we go, Raf. 4-turn cooldown though is not ideal at all. You know, I'll put him as a C-. I just. You know, I love if this was a 3-turn cooldown. It'd be a big help, you know, to give him a little bit higher on the score. Granjar, F. He's the last Doom Tower hard champion that you get. I have him, and he sucks really bad. He has a AoE HP burn on a 4-turn cooldown, and then he has a 2-time hitter with block debuffs. That's it. He does have some he won't receive damage from burns, and when they put a freeze on him, he'll remove it and place it with a burn or whatever. But who cares? He's so trash, and I can't believe he's the final reward or the one before the final reward. It's either Granjar or Ginro the Stork, who we'll talk about next faction. But I'm not a fan, clearly. F. Nari the Lucky. Another kind of mediocre dwarf, I feel like. An AoE decreased accuracy and decreased resistance is nice on a 3-turn cooldown. There's no doubt about that. And then an AoE provoke on a 4-turn. Counterattack on himself, which can lead him to stealing more buffs on the basic attack. It's nice. It's good synergy to his kit. He's a solid champion. Not amazing, but not bad. I'll give him a B. Molly Tankard. Just one of the best provokers in the game. We mentioned it earlier, but she has, along when we were talking about Angar, a 2-turn provoke potential, 50% chance, and that's really good. You know, for Hydra, it's really good. For Arena, it's very good. Not as meta in the Arena because of Polymorph and Stone Skin, but still very good. She's very fast, great base stats, and she's a reviver. For me, on my Hydra team, she's my main provoker and my only reviver on the team. I wouldn't be able to get by without her because things go wrong, and especially over the duration of a 50-minute battle or whatever I'm running. So I love that. Love the cheers. And then Rowdy Crowd. I've mentioned it so many times before, but it's one of the most underrated and powerful passives in the entire game. Fills its champion turn meter of all allies by 15% whenever she's hit on a 1-turn cooldown. Fills a turn meter of all allies by 25% when hit against a boss like a Hydra head. That is, if you add up all the turn meter fills that you get from this champion over the duration of a long battle or even in the arena, it is unbelievable. I've said it before, but you just slot her into your Hydra Clan Boss team if you just had her in your vault or you just weren't using her, and you're just going to get a better result. I almost guarantee it. Samar, so I give her a A+. Samar Gem Cursed. He could do some cool things like solo Bommel. I'm not sure the highest difficulty. Maybe he can. I haven't tried it. But because he has this place a block damage on the champion for 1 turn at the start of each round, and then blocks incoming damage and places a block damage buff on the champion for 1 turn whenever they receive a hit that would drop their HP below 30%. So he's able to solo some content because of this. He also has, a little trivia for you guys, he has the 2nd best buff steal ability in the game after Sun Wukong. He's the only other champion in the game who has an AoE stealing buffs more than 1. And he has it right here on 2 random buffs. This is on a 4-turn cooldown. He's no Sun Wukong, but he's not trash, but he's not that great either, I don't think. I'll give him a B-. Maybe that's even being kind, honestly. Kira the Watcher, her best use case now in the game is to get Lady Mikage, in my opinion. She's very good. She's very good for support and progression, I should say. Excuse me. An AoE, decrease the duration of all enemy buffs, and also place a decreased accuracy. It's a good move. And then we have an ally protect and an increased defense on all allies. So again, a very good support move. It's on a 3-turn cooldown. We've talked about several champions that have abilities like this with an ally protect and an increased defense, or an increased defense and a strengthen, like a Whirlum or a Versolf the Grim or a Tyrant Ixalim or a Koragar Deathbell, right? So there's options out there, but there's not that many, you know? And it's good to have one of these type champions on your team. Again, great for progression. Whenever an ally is attacked while under an ally protection, she's placing a decreased attack debuff on the attacker, which is very nice as well. It's all about damage mitigation and survivability with Kira, as well as a pretty cool A2. I'll give her a B+. Newt, S tier, S tier, S tier, S tier, S+. Really one of the best champions in the game. Great control on the A1. Sure against Fire Knight, but against basically anywhere, right? Because you're either decreasing the turn meter or you're freezing them. And high 100% on each hit. You know, that's insane. An AoE decrease attack and a weaken and a counter attack, so you get more of this good stuff on the A1, one of the strongest A1s out there. And then Blessed Bash is the hardest hitting ability in the game against bosses, against high HP targets. Better than Acresia, better than everything, because it's a triple hitter, and it's absolutely insane. He's one of the most used champions in PvE inside the entire game. Arguably the best PvE damage dealer inside the entire game. S+. Tormund the Cold. Well, I'm not going to read his kit, but he's really cool. I love Tormund. I've always had... first of all, I like the way he looks. I just like everything about Tormund the Cold. He's an AoE on the A1 with a freeze. Instant activation of this skill whenever an enemy under a freeze and burn takes a turn. It's hard to pull it off, I guess. But when you can pair him with a burner, he just starts... auto fire on the A1. It's really fun. He removes all buffs from the target on the A2. I can steal them if they're under freeze. It's a pretty hard-hitting ability. And then another hard-hitting ability with Blizzard Rage. He's actually a pretty good defensive-based damage dealer. I wouldn't make him your only damage dealer on like an arena team, but he can dish out some damage if you build him to do that. He also has a Provoke here on the A3. He has a block buffs and heal reduction if they're under freeze. And then, of course, he can freeze everybody with his passive whenever they receive a buff and have their turn meters filled once per turn. He did get a nerf to this ability over the years, but still very good. He also revives himself. You guys know Tormund. I'm a big fan still. Defense in all battles, I'll give him an A+. Acresia, S tier. We talked about Newt. Now we're talking about Acresia. Enemy max HP on every single ability. Moreover, she's so easy to build because of the passive. Decrease the damage taken from AoE attacks. Great. Easy to keep alive. And if this champion's max HP is more than... If the target's HP is more than double his champion's, she'll attack dealing damage based on their max HP instead of her attacks. You don't even need to build her with a lot of attack or anything like that. You can just build her however the heck you want to. She's going to deal an insane amount of damage either way. And again, she's known as the only enemy max HP champion not to just have 2 abilities, but 3 abilities. She also has a 2-time hitter and an AoE 2-time hitter. Overall damage, no one can compete with Acresia against bosses. unless it's a single hit, then Blessed Bash has it. S+. All right, guys, here we go to Shadowkin. So we have, oops, Mishinaki, don't cut line, man. Jintoro. I love Jintoro. Great damage dealer and debuffer for clan boss. Every 4th use of the skill, he does it 5 times instead of 1. It's amazing. And then we have a 100% turn meter steal on the A3. And again, he brings decreased defense and weaken. A lot of damage and great debuffs, particularly good against bosses and clan boss specifically. I use him on my main clan boss team. I'll give him an A-. Lady Kimmy, very fast, 115 base speed. If you see that number, you know you're dealing with one of the fastest champions in the game. She's great for arena, great for Hydra clan boss, great for progression anywhere in the game. 2 AoEs, they do like the inverse of each other, right? A good A1, by the way, to start with. On the A2, it's an AoE, decreased accuracy, decreased speed, decreased target's turn meter on 3-turn cooldown. Very powerful. And then on a 4-turn cooldown, we have removing a buff from each enemy, 100% chance of placing block buffs on each enemy who had buff removed, and then a turn meter fill, increased speed, increased accuracy on allies, more turn meter as well on the passive, speed on Doom Tower battles by 30 on the aura. Overall, Lady Kimmy is A+ or S. She's right on that borderline, you know. I'll give her A+. Ninja, S tier. I still think S tier with Ninja. He's got the and Lady Kimmy probably S tier too, right? I mean, we don't have to spend a lot of time talking about Ninja. You guys are probably already acquainted. He's got the AoE freeze. He's got the escalating damage on his passive. He's got the decreased defense on the A1. And he has Hailburn. It's insane. It's insane. The cool thing is Hailburn, you're placing the burn and you're activating it on the same ability. It's the boss killer, the quintessential boss killer ability in the game. But then when attacking a boss on his A3, will only attack the boss, not all enemies, ignore 50% of the defense, but most importantly, will decrease the cooldown of Hailburn by 1 turn. This is why you absolutely never shut off the Scion/A3. Moreover, it will mess up your escalation damage too. S tier. Mishinaki. Am I crazy? Maybe I'm crazy, but I think Mishinaki's S tier as well. I love me some Mishinaki. First of all, his defense base is easy to keep alive. He's got a burn on the A1, and he's joining up on attacks on enemies under Hex. 50% chance to place more burns and more A1s on his passive. He has an AoE decreased defense, decreased attack on enemies under Hex, and guess what? This is on a 3-turn cooldown, decreased attack, decreased defense, and he's bringing the Hex and removing all buffs on his A3. 2 3-turn cooldown AoEs, both that deal nice damage on top of all of that, and defense in all battles by 30%. One of the best Hydra clan boss champions in the game. You can use him anywhere. Really good. I think S tier. Zinogre Blademaster. A lot of you guys, excuse me, really like her. I don't really like her that much. I hate to say it. But as I keep saying in this video, I'm not here to pander to you guys. I'm here to give you my real opinions on these champions. Triple hitter with weaken on the A1. A quad hitter with turn meter increase on the A2 and increased speed. Very good ability, right? Very good ability. Another quad hitter on the A3. So listen, I mean, she's doing so much. Leech, decrease attack, increase attack. You know, after on another glance at her kit, she's not bad. She's certainly not bad champion. Great for Fire Knight, great for multi-hitter, you know, situations in the game, and great because of the debuffs that she brings to the table. So not bad. I think the only knock on her, and it's a small knock, is there's epics nowadays like Neldor Rhineblade and Cryod the Blue, who aren't far off from a kit like this, you know? So it's really not a knock on her per se. She has a nice like passive and active effect. She's preempting her death and increasing her damage based on her HP. She has speed in dungeons by 30%. I don't know. I think A- is fair. Maybe I'm not that far down from the rest of you guys. Harima, I think, is S tier. She's my favorite defense-based nuker in the game. She's a very hard-hitting A1 with decreased attack. She has a triple hitter with instant activate. I mean, deals a ton of damage, scales up her defense, and then if you kill somebody, you instantly activate the A3. It can't be blocked or resisted or provoked from Demonspawn. And this, as I said earlier, Demonspawn's like the #1 faction in arena and PvP in the game. Probably up there with like Undead Horde. it's just so good. It does so much damage. It's a 3-turn provoke. It's the biggest defense-based nuke out there for my money, and the fact that you can instantly activate it every time you kill somebody with a purgative punishment is insane. And really, we haven't even got to the highlight of her kit. The enemy ignore defense effects are decreased by 50%. I mean, her being Force Affinity, she's the anti-Rotos. She's the anti-any magic-based nuker, you know, in the game. And she can just mitigate so much in terms of nukes, and her base defense is sky high. I think she's S tier. Yoshi the Drunkard, the first Shadowkin to be added to the game vis-a-vis a fragment summon. To me, he's like, first of all, he's the best bomb setup champion in the game. True Fear on all enemies, increase attack, increase accuracy on all allies on the same ability, 3-turn cooldown. It's the best. It's a bit niche, but it's unquestionably the best bomb setup. If you wanted to have like Gaius the Gleeful, I mean, I guess with the exception of Astrolith, because she doesn't need, it can't be resisted anyway, right? But you're normal, like Lord Shazar. Increased attack is going to get more bomb damage. Increased accuracy is going to land the bomb. And also, we're CCing the enemy team while we're at it. He has a burn, decreased accuracy on a 2-turn cooldown on the A2. A stun on the A1. With all that said, and he can cut in line too with the partier. With all that said, though, if he had a base speed of like 110 or higher, he'd be seeing some serious run in the arena. That base speed does hamper him a lot in the end game. And overall, outside the arena, his kit is pretty dang niche. So he's a hard one to judge. But I would say probably like a B on Yoshi. Noble, one of the most hated champions in the game, despite his buffs. Got a couple throughout the years. He's all about fear and true fear. He's ignoring defense, fills champion's turn meter. There's a 2-turn cooldown. And the target's under fear or true fear decreases the cooldown of the A3, which is dismay. Dismay is on a 3-turn cooldown, attacks all enemies, decreasing turn meter by 50%, 100% chance of doing that. If there are enemies under fear or true fear, will also fill this champion's turn meter by the amount the enemy loses. So akin, close to a steal. I've never hated Noble as much as everybody else does. That being said, I'm under no delusion that he's a top champion in the game. Whenever an enemy turn meter is depleted or by any champion, has a 100% chance of placing a True Fear debuff on that enemy for 1 turn with no cooldown. I think that's a really powerful passive as well. I'll give him a C+, which I'm sure is higher than anybody watching would give him right now. But I think there's some fun little potential in this guy, although he's far from a meta or even overly useful champion in the game. Tatsu is the other best reason to fuse Lady Mikage along with Kira. Tatsu I do not like as much as Kira, so I think that she's a legendary fuse for Lady Mikage that I would never worry about or hesitate about. 2-time hitter. She has an AoE with decreased resistance for 2 turns, sleep for 1 turn. Not a bad opening move in the arena or something like that, but it's not great. Yeah, I mean, what else is she can hit like decently hard, you know? But overall, I am down on her. I give her a D. And the scores are actually a lot better than I would give. I give her a D. I'm really not a fan of Tatsu. Genzin, we have an AoE decreased defense. We have a fill turn meter on every ability. He can fill his own turn meter. 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 Hard hitting A3. And again, tons of turn meter fill. 60% if the target had 50% HP or less after the attack. Decrease the cooldown of Steel Parting and Fated Vengeance by 1 turn if you kill an enemy. You can get this dude to snowball for some massive damage. He's more of a PvE debuffer for that reason, because he performs so well in longer battles, right? But he increases his speed and his resistance by 50, 10, and 50, respectively, if the number of champions on the enemy team is equal to or lower than the number of enemies on the enemy team. On this champion's team, excuse me. So again, Bushido is also built for PvE. One of my favorite PvE debuffers in the game. Shout out to YST. We'll give him a. Kyoku. Kyoku has a AoE decreased attack. She has a triple hitter on the A1 if they're under 3 or more debuffs. Interesting. I just wish this was always a triple hitter, personally. I don't think she'd be broken or anything like that, but her claim to fame is her Kyoku's Horde, her A3 ability. Well, let's start with the passive. Every time this champion is hit with a critical hit on a 4-turn cooldown, heals all allies by 15% of their max HP and places a big version of decreased defense on all allies for 2 turns. Very good passive. Defense on all battles by 30, great aura. And then the ally protect, which is great, but the block damage on herself. And then grants an extra turn. So great synergy, a fantastic tank. Really good for areas like Ice Golem, because she'll ally protect, but then she won't die. She'll have block damage, you know? Good in the arena, not super meta, but really good. Can be annoying to deal with. I will give her a A. Gamaran. He's got a buff spread. That's his claim to fame, kind of. Not really. His A3 actually is, but I'm not going to read the entire kit to you guys. He has a steel buff, 1 random buff. He's a 3rd best buff stealer out there. And then after stealing, he has a buff spread, which is nice, but you just can't predict it, you know? Like, it's hard to predict what buffs you're going to steal at any given moment, especially in the arena, but even outside of that to a certain extent. Dread Invocation allows you to target a dead enemy and block their revival after they're already died, which sounds like it would have a lot more use case than it does. It's okay, but I don't think the complexity and the really cool creativity of this kit in practice meets the expectations that one would think about, like, well, this is a very interesting kit here, you know? It's pretty fast too, he's pretty cool. Revives a random ally 30% HP in a turn meter each time an enemy is killed. It's kind of cool too, right? It kind of soul charges meets, or I should say, it fits the rest of his kit, where it's like, wow, that's kind of cool, that's kind of cool, that's kind of cool. And then you put it all together and you get a C+ champion. Karato, Fox Hunter. Really, you know what? I kind of snubbed Karato when I was talking about Cleotyrix and Yannica as the spirit-based nukers. Karato's right up there with those two. Specifically better, I would say, in the arena than those two. He has a 2-turn stun. He's Yumeko's tandem partner. He has a 2-turn stun. He was a previous fusion. And he has an AoE block active skills as well. Can't be resisted if Yumeko's on the same team, which is a little redundant because she's already putting their skills on cooldown anyway. I never understood the companion ability on this suppression ward. Either way, I mean, it's still cool to have. Stoicism is a really cool passive as well. I'll give Karato, I think he's very underrated as a nuker. He's a triple hitter weaken, so good for Fire Knight as well on his A1. I'll give him a B+. I don't want to go too crazy on it, but he can dish out some damage. Rio Bone Spear, I'm going to give her S tier. I think that she's, I don't know if underrated is the right word, because I feel like people who have Rio Bone Spear, they rate her properly, but she's very, very, very good. She has a continuous heal on the A1, 2 continuous heals on the A1, potentially, 1 big, 1 small, and then pressure points does every debuff known to man. Very, very good, right? On a single target, get a stun, HP burn, decrease defense, weaken, decrease attack, decrease crit rate, all on a 3-turn cooldown, and it deals like a lot of damage too, right? It places all this stuff, and then it attacks the target after all the debuffs have landed. And then Perfect Body is just one of the better cleanse heal combos in the game. A full cleanse on a 3-turn cooldown when booked, a block debuff for 2 turns, and then a heal, a big heal, 35% of their max HP, and then another 5% for each debuff removed. Perfect Body is up there with one of the best abilities, I think, support abilities in the game. When receiving any debuffs, instantly transfer them back to the attacker. Very good as well, albeit on a 3-turn cooldown, but a very strong passive in addition to everything else. Jingwan, he received a buff. Is he good? Is he good? No, he's not really good. He's good in one area, and that is Dragon. He has a Compound Calamity, is a single attack with block active skills, whatever. On the AoE, it's a decreased accuracy, decreased crit damage on an AoE. Again, whatever. It doesn't deal much damage. It's a 4-turn cooldown. Who cares? It's really Unchained that has any potential in this guy's kit. His passive effect is this champion's immune to being CC'd. He cannot be CC'd, ever. That's not on a cooldown. Only the active effect is. So that's cool. Active effect. At the end of each enemy or ally turn, removes all fear, true fear, freeze, provoke, sleep, stun, and petrification debuffs from all allies, and places a block debuff buff on all allies to have 1 debuff removed. Very good. But I missed the thing that I wanted to say about his kit. The Doom Exchange. It makes him viable for this A1 makes him viable for Dragon because what happens is, Dragon Hard, it places like, I don't know, 6 poisons on everybody, like a lot of poison. They stack up quickly. And then just with his A1, you can just flip them all back to the Dragon, right? So for a dude who doesn't have poison in his kit, he actually has a really, really good utility. He's like one of the better guys out there next to Staltus for Dragon, right? So you can consider him there. Other than that, he's really pretty awful. One of the lowest ranked Void legendaries in the game. I'll give him a D plus, just because of that one utility that he can bring to the table. You maybe C minus, but if you're using him in Dragon, maybe he's an A plus for you. Yumeko, S tier. I mean, she's got a little bit of Kymar, a little bit of Warlord. Decrease the cooldown of all ally skills, and the same thing with the increase on the enemies. I mean, everything I said about Kymar's Seal of Magic, I can say about Dance of Time, only plus a little bit of Warlord in there as well. It's really, really good. You can use her in the arena. You can use her on a slow build. You can use her on a fast build. You can use her anywhere and everywhere. She's so good. Also, Destiny's Mirror is incredibly good. Place a Hex on an enemy, and then when that enemy tries to put a debuff on you, it can have a chance at bouncing back. Specifically good in Bommel, right? You can bounce those bombs back to Bommel. She's a 2-time hitter with Stealing Turn Meter on the A1, specifically useful in the arena as well. As I said, S tier. Ginro the Stork, the dude with a long, long nose who takes a long, long time to get. Actually, he has some of the worst reviews in the game. I actually really like this guy. Okay, so that being said, I don't think he's like an S tier champion, but he's very unique and can be difficult to deal with because people are very unfamiliar with him because A, not many people have him, and B, those who do have him see those ratings and immediately think he just sucks. Plunging Beak, his A1, Plunging Beak, I love it. Attacks one enemy, has a 60% chance of increasing the cooldown of one of the target skills by 2 turns at random. Really nice A1. On the A2, and by the way, he's a defense-based champion. Not a lot of defense though. Base stats kind of meh. Befuddle, this is a good one. 3-turn cooldown, attacks one enemy. A 2-turn stun that ignores block debuffs and block damage. What makes this so powerful is, well, it says it right there, but just to paint the picture, you have a Duchess, for example, on the enemy team, right? And they go first. And everybody has block debuffs, right? You can, like, it doesn't matter who you want to attack. You could attack their nuker, you could attack Duchess herself. You just go in there and you can still stun. It feels so weird because there's not many abilities like this in the game. It feels so weird to ignore block debuffs. Basically, you can 2-turn stun anybody, even if they have block debuffs on, which is cool. On the A3, we have a counterattack and an increased defense on this champion. This is on a 3-turn cooldown. It lasts for 3 turns, the increased defense, so more damage out of him. But most importantly, it leads him into the Plunging Beak again. So we have more A1s that were constantly with a counterattack, increasing cooldowns of target skills by 2 turns at random. And then what really brings the kit together for some really cool synergy is the passive. Increases champions' defense each time they counterattack, which is cool. It resets when he gets a turn though, so who cares? When attacking, converts his champion's resistance into accuracy. It's the opposite of Mithrala Lifebane. So we don't need to build him with any accuracy to pull off the stun or the control from the A1. Instead, all we want to do when building this dude is just stacking up as much resistance as humanly possible. So now it adds a new dynamic to his kit where he's going to be very tanky / can't land a debuff on this dude, Active effect. At the end of his turn, places a provoke for 1 turn on all enemies under increased attack. This is especially useful on a go second team in the arena when an arbiter goes or whoever their booster or their increased speed champion or increased attack, champion is, he can go in there and just CC them provided they're not under block debuffs. So all that being said, I think he's like a B-, very niche, but I think he's also a very fun champion. Shuzhen the Valorous is S tier. She's incredibly good, incredibly unique, very fast, great base stats, very tanky, speed in arena battles, fills the turn meter of all allies by 20%, increased speed on them for 2 turns, decreased turn meter by 20%, and decreased speed on enemies. So it's, similar-ish to a Lysandra, we are placing the decreased speed, which is very nice, but not a 30% turn meter fill like Lysandra. Either way, it's a great ability. But really the highlight of her, well, actually, before we get to the highlight, increases champions' accuracy equal to the speed they have, which is super cool, right? Allows you to build her to actually control the enemy with the A3 much easier and build her as a speed lead for your team. And then block active skills on the A1, so good because we're stealing turn meter after the block active skills if they're already under it. I can't tell you guys how many times I've landed block active skills and how many times I'm consistently stealing turn meter in live arena with this Spear of Providence. But really, it's the Purging Petals is the highlight of our kit. Target an ally, you can cure sheep if you want to, but most importantly, the real value here is activates an instant turn with increased attack, increased crit rate, and increased crit damage. What can you do with that? Well, let me just tell you how I use her. I run her on the same team as a very slow Inithwi Blood Twin, right? She's very fast. She gives an instant turn to Inithwi Blood Twin, who if you're new, he denies revival on everybody. So he's going to go, like, if I have her speed at, I don't know, 350 or whatever, right? All of a sudden, Inithwi Blood Twin is also at 350 speed. And also, he's set up with all his damage buffs that he needs. Increased attack, increased crit damage, increased crit rate. And whoever he kills is dead forever because he has block revive. It's a very strong combo. She's S tier. You can use her so many combos. It doesn't have to be a Inithwi Blood Twin, but very, very good. The last faction, guys, Elva Autumnborn, easy S tier. One of the strongest champions, and it's crazy. Every month or two that goes by, we just see more Elva Autumnborn. She's that good. Arena, you see her at the top live arena. You see her at top classic arena sometimes. You see her in almost every dungeon in the game. She's really good. She has continuous heal on the A1, ally with lowest HP. She has a cleanse. She has block debuff. She has increased speed, all on the same 3-turn cooldown. Very good. She has a 3-turn revival with increased defense and increased attack on that ally. And then we have a heal every turn with a perfect veil for 1 turn on the ally with the lowest HP at the end of her turn. So some protection and damage mitigation and heals built into that passive. Why is she so good? Speed all bows by 90%. Well, it's probably obvious to you guys, but she does so much, right? Specifically, having a reviver with this much healing between the A1 and the passive and protection and this nature's path. Getting the block debuffs, the increased speed, and the cleanse all on a 3-turn is unique, meaning that I think she's the only champion in the game that has it. And it's so strong. And her base stats are good, very speedy at 110 base speed. King Galkabar. Oh, man. He's very fast, very tanky, first of all, right? He's got a shield on the A1. He's got an AoE with removing all buffs, and then putting a poison and a block buffs on a 3-turn cooldown. A poison for every buff removed as well. Really cool. And then you have the opposite almost on the A3. It is removing all debuffs from allies instead of all buffs from enemies. And then a continuous heal for each debuff removed. And then a shield. Also, whenever an enemy under a poison debuff attacks an ally under a shield, instantly activates a poison. Also a continuous heal on the ally. Against like Dragon, dude, you can, and first of all, he looks so cool. Love the aesthetics on this dude. But against Dragon, you can do some incredible things with this guy. You really can't. It's insane, you know. The amount of continuous heals on your team from all the poisons removed and poisons on the enemy are just great, you know, are great. Especially the continuous heals, obviously. That all being said, he hasn't really found his niche. For a champion who's removing buffs and placing block buffs, you'd think that alone would make him one of the better Hydra clan boss champions. And not to say he's not good in Hydra, he is. But the damage just doesn't really add up. For whatever reason. Poison, you know, notoriously fairly weak against Hydra. And the rest is just like, okay, a cleanse and some heals. Anyway, he's a very good champion. I want to sound like I'm trashing him. I'll give him an A. I just wish he would find like some some real, like, this is where you want to use King Galkabar. And I've yet to find that personally. But an A is still a really good grade, right? Oella. I didn't fuse her, but I got her later, and let me tell you, she's really good as well. Again, great base stats, great HP, very fast. She has a decreased speed on the A1. She's Altan of the Shell companion champion, even though he sucks. An AoE heal with the increased duration of all ally buffs, a very strong ability, even though it's based on their max HP. To have both of these in the same ability is very strong. And then we have a turn meter fill and an increased resistance on a 3-turn cooldown. This kit doesn't jump off the page at you. She has the continuous heals on the passive too. But you just put it all together and she's like a very consistent healer and just support in general, right? Increased resistance is really nice and the turn meter fill. So I'll give her an A. I think she's actually really solid. What do the reviews say on her? Yeah, pretty good. Iron Twins, I didn't mention it, but obviously good there for obvious reasons. Has a decreased speed, 100% on the A1 and all that support. Green Warden Ruark. Oh, man, I really wanted to like this guy, but I don't really. So he has a transfer all debuffs from this champion to the target, which is really strong for an A1. He has an AoE decrease attack and a steal continuous heals on the A2. I mean, it's cool, but unless we get some boss who's just like putting tons of continuous heals out, I don't know when that would be like super useful, you know, maybe some wave content against Battle of Khazars or something. He does have taunt, increased defense and strengthen on a 4-turn cooldown. Taunt is good, but you know, you put it all together and I just don't think that he is, you know, the game changer that I was hoping for, to be one of the first 2 taunt champions released to the game. Certainly nothing like Arbius or whatever the mythical's name, however you pronounce the mythical's name. That being said, he's not trash, just not my fave. I'll say he is, if he placed a taunt on himself and an increased defense and a strengthen on all allies or something, a little bit more like support or anything from his kit, I would feel a lot differently. But in a way, he feels like a little bit of a selfish champion, you know? I'll give him a B-. Search of the Shard is the Plarium Play champion. She can solo content, not as easily as a lot of others can in the game, but she places a burn, and then she has, when this champion is attacked by an enemy under a burn, a heal, but more importantly, a 30% chance when booked of instantly activating any burn debuffs on the attacker. So she's not awful, but considering how much you have to pay to get her, I don't think she's good at all. I am not a fan, and I would give her a D. I just think you can get burners all over the place, and, you know, I don't know. The instant activation chance off of the passive, for me, is not enough to get excited about, especially given how hard it is to get your hands on her. Not an awful champion. She's not that great. Lady of Irith. Another kind of meh for me champion, right? She's got an instantly activates continuous heal on all allies with less than 85% HP. Kind of a cool A1, honestly. We have a debuff removal on one ally. I don't really like this ability. It's on a 3-turn. If it was on a 2-turn, I'd love it. Or if it had an excess kind of bleed over heal, I would love that too. It can be critical, which, like, okay, the second critical heal champion after Apothecary, okay, cool, but it doesn't justify this ability to me. I don't think it's that good. The fully healed, fill a turn meter by 50% is good, but again, it doesn't feel worth a 3-turn cooldown on a legendary for me. Strengthen the continuous heal on all allies, not a bad ability. And then a shield on this champion of the ally, and the ally lowers HP at the start of this champion's turn. Nice to have, not a game changer. Again, I feel like she's good, but just not great. I'll give her a B-. Man, apparently you guys think even worse of her. Feral the Barkhorn. Now this dude is actually really good. I call him the Christmas tree. He doesn't look very happy about it though, does he? He's kind of new at the time of this recording. He has a decreased speed on the A1. Great. He has an AoE, decreased accuracy and block buffs for 2 turns. Fantastic. Ignoring resistance if the target's a boss is on a 3-turn cooldown. And he has an increased resistance on all allies for 3 turns on a 4-turn cooldown. A perfect veil on all allies except this champion for 2 turns as well on a 4-turn cooldown, which is the standard, such as a Duchess, such as a Tatura for perfect veil. It's one of the best buffs in the game. Again, 25% damage mitigation on AoE attacks. And you also get the, 15%, I'm sorry, damage mitigation on AoE attacks. And then you also get the can't be targeted, right? Obviously. If an ally is under 2 or more buffs, increase their resistance by 50. 3 or more buffs, accuracy by 50. 4 or more buffs, increase their damage by 20%. You can do some nasty things with him in like a Turvold or him in a Taurus, right? Overall, I think it A+. People are very high on him. Very high. Hydra and Iron Twins are the first 2 places that come to mind. Maybe an A? I don't know. Somewhere in that territory. I think he's very good. Aleel. Oh, Aleel. Oh, Aleel is the most tantalizing champion in the game because, like, he should be so good, and he's just not. He's stealing all the buffs from the target the first time he attacks them with his skill, and it cannot be resisted. The reason this is so good is because you can steal Stone Skin right off the bat, you know, from somebody. And it can't be resisted. You don't need accuracy in this kit, which is insane, given how strong his A3 is in that regard as well. This is where the big letdown is. He ignores Stone Skin, but he doesn't do a lot of damage on this ability. So that's the bummer, right? He's the 2nd champion added to the game to ignore Stone Skin after Jorgid, Nutcracker, Jirgid. But it's a disappointment, unfortunately. Chill Wind of Autumn is very strong. I'm a big fan of this ability. Nothing that happens in this ability can be resisted. No accuracy required. No bad affinity matchups. He's void affinity. We're removing increased defense, placing a decreased defense. Removing strengthen, placing a weaken. Removing block buffs. I'm sorry. Placing block buffs for 1 turn on enemies not under decreased defense or strengthen. And he's attacking them. And the multipliers aren't crazy, but it's a decent damage too. Decent, you know? Increases champion's HP by 2,000 and defense by 100 for every 1,000 attack they have, which is great as well. You know, you can build him kind of tanky without even building him kind of tanky, right? Fills the champion's turn by 10% whenever they receive a buff, which again is a great Force of Nature. Is a really strong passive. This allows you to build him kind of slow and go on a go second team as an attack-based champion. Hopefully you can take a punch because he has those extra stats. And if you buff him with, like, I don't know, a Siphi or something, whatever, whoever you have, a 3 buff champion, a Mausoleum Mage, for who cares, right? You're getting a 30% turn meter fill on top of that, plus whatever buffs else he can get, will help him cut in line and get in there after the enemy team is already buffed up and get rid of their increased defense and strengthens as well, you know? So I like him. Unfortunately, the damage just isn't there. I'll give him a B-. I don't think he's as bad as people say he is, but he's not great either. Claydena. I'm not a fan of Claydena, unfortunately. I think the reviews are going to be amazing. Oh, no. Apparently you guys aren't either. HP-based champion, really good base stats. She's asleep on the A1, great, I guess, for Sand Devil. Decreased speed and a leech on all enemies. Heal on all allies. Not a bad ability for sure. And then a block debuffs and a revive on death. Revive on death is just not that good. Some Sand Devil. Her kit screams Sand Devil. But her passive is, I don't want to say misleading, but I feel like it's misleading for a lot of players. Has a 60% chance when booked of completely blocking incoming damage on the first hit of an attack. Occurs once per turn. So only 1 time for every turn she takes. But it's only for her. You know, I thought it was kind of read more as like maybe she protects all allies, you know, kind of like a Separatio Sentinel type, a beefed up version of that. But it's just not, unfortunately. So it's like, okay, we get a chance of blocking 1 hit coming her way. All right. Her kit's not awful. HP and done is by 40%. It's not awful. It's just, she's just like a progression champion to me, you know? I'll give her a B-. Emic Trunkheart. I actually really regret not going for him. I don't have him. I don't have good old Emic. He's also the last champion that we talk about in this slog of a video. Massive shout out to all you guys who made it till the end. Emic, I will give an A+. He's an AoE. He's got a shield, decreasing the cooldown of all ally skills except this champion's by 1 turn. Really strong on a 3-turn cooldown. Really strong. Then he has the unkillable and the taunt. He's got a lot going on, and I think he's really fun. You see some action in the arena. Obviously, Iron Twins, or actually not, yeah, a little bit in Iron Twins. Why not? You know, even after the block damage, unkillable thing. Either way, though, you know, a billion like clan boss teams. You can go to deadwoodjedi.com to check out different comps using him for unkillable teams. He's just a very good champion. Like, again, kind of everywhere, you know. Guys, listen, I said I wanted to make this 2 hours or so. This has been what? A 4-hour video. I lost track because that's 2 recordings for me.
It's been 84 years.
Thank you guys, especially anybody who actually watched this in 1 viewing. Are you insane? Thank you so much for the support, guys. Hopefully you enjoy these type of videos. Obviously they take a long time, but they're fun to do too. Thanks for watching, and as always, take care, guys.